Hello everyone who's watching and recording. I'm waiting for the audience to come. Today's topic, as you can see in the name to this video, is how to use people. And also, the second topic that I wanted to discuss is meditation for coping versus meditation for an action. Both of these topics, in some capacity, both of those topics in some capacity surfaced in previous live streams, and I wanted to elaborate on them, because I think they're quite important. And just recently, I just stumbled upon Schopenhauer, or Schopenhauer, let me just say it in Russian, Schopenhauer, in his works. And I'm pretty sure that the theme of coping with unfavorable conditions was somehow associated with his works. I don't remember if it was somebody's interpretation of that, but regardless, this topic has been very prominent. Meditation as a coping mechanism versus meditation as a mechanism for change. Hello, Kiva. Hello. All is well? Yes, thank you, Kiva. I just returned from doing hours of gardening. I am so happy. The weather is phenomenal. My nails will be dirty, so if you see dirt, know that I was actually in the dirt. I was transplanting some of the plants around, also removing weeds, removing old leaves and everything, prepping soil for planting new stuff. So a lot of exciting things, and I just love gardening so much. It's one of my favorite activities, really. I can do it, and then it's one of those activities, like these live streams. I do gardening, and it feels like, wow, it was just the happiest thing to do. It doesn't feel like work. You can feel kind of physically a little bit winded, but it just feels so amazing. I don't know. It's fantastic. So I was gardening. You enjoy gardening? Very nice. Yeah, it's so pleasant. Oh my God. You know, especially when you have resources to actually... Hello, Shiki. Nice to see you. Did you see today's topic? So yeah, about gardening. I love when you have resources to actually fill it with everything that you want to bring your vision to fruition. That's, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. So there are some rose plants that I wanted to clean up a little bit. Then I also spread around daffodils. Daffodils, they reproduce, they form those clumps, so just divided them into pieces. And then also hostas. Hostas also divided them into several sections and planted them, spread them around. So that was what we did today, and I also cleaned it up, and I also got them some seeds. I want to plant lavender, then marigolds, a couple more things. So it's going to be very exciting. But first we need to create some nursery at home, I think, because there will be some frost. So perfect weather to garden. Yes, it is. It's absolutely wonderful. Just, I mean, it feels sinful to stay indoors for such weather, especially when it's first spring day, oh my God, in a while. It's the best. So hello, Ruby, nice to see you. So today's topic, let's begin. Now we have a lot of audience, so let's begin. The topic is how to use people, and also meditation as a coping mechanism versus meditation as the mechanism for change. Remember, in one of the streams, we talked about meditation and how meditation can actually take on very, very various forms. It's not necessarily that you will sit in the lotus pose and will start relaxing yourself, grounding yourself, doing some like introspection and whatnot. Meditation can have very functional form. Meditation can be very active. Meditation can be transformative. It's not necessarily something that we do for relaxation. It's not necessarily something that we do as a form of distraction. Meditation can put us through the work of actually focusing on the problem, finding the root of the problem, finding how it's related to the entirety of ourselves, and find tools for how to solve the problem. In some philosophies, I noticed, especially philosophies that propose the idea that suffering is inevitable, that suffering is the permanent part of human life, along with all the dissatisfaction, desires, insatiable desires that humans encounter. Those schools of thought oftentimes propose meditation as the form of coping with this dissatisfaction, as in distracting oneself from the desire. In general, there are religious movements that are against desire, that desire, attachment, are viewed as something to avoid, as something to eradicate. But what will happen in the real life? Our psyche is not supposed to have denial of desires. Our psyche is not supposed to avoid attachments. It's a natural property of our psyche to actually pursue attachments. So how does it work together? We should not, I don't think that we should pursue establishing a conflict or establishing emotional numbness in which we are unable to handle any form of attachment or any form of frustration. And this is where Tantric approach comes in handy, again, as with many things. The Tantric approach of increasing your capacity for experiences. It provides us tools for adapting our psyche, for working with frustration as the leader, not as the one who endures it, not as the one who suffers from it, but as the leader. Our emotional sphere, emotional wellness, emotional strength develops and allows us to actually handle perhaps necessary grief that comes with attachment when the attachment is broken due to different reasons. Tantra gives us tools to broaden the spectrum of our life such that we can not only endure all of those things without breaking, but to have more points of support. Remember this notion of that there is an identity, I hold on to something rigid, something one, as opposed to I diffuse my support into having many sources of support. And thus I achieve more sense of independence. I achieve more sense of security through knowing that there are this broad spectrum of experiences that I can pursue, as opposed to holding on to something one. And this is the difference of Tantric approach compared to even religious schools. Because a lot of religious schools, they give you rather rationalization for why to cope with all of those things, why you need to settle for these things, without the tools to actually functionalize those things. Functionalize frustration, functionalize attachment, because you don't want to settle for suffering. It's a totally different vector of life, in my opinion. Of course, some people will also try to functionalize that. But it's better if we use other tools to know how to work with suffering, how to read suffering. And perhaps surprisingly, this thing ties to the first part of the title to this video, how to use people. Because the world communicates to us. The world shows us information about ourselves. The world shows us our desires, our vices, something that we need to work on through people. Not only through the process that we encounter, like our internal processes, but mostly we receive this information through people. It's mostly people that frustrate us. If we reflect on that, I think it's quite fair that in many cases it is people who are the source of frustration. And there is a modern notion that you need to live alone to learn about yourself. And I've met several people who were saying that they wish they were on their own to learn about themselves. But I find that there is a deep contradiction there. What are you going to learn about yourself living alone? Yes, you may have time to dig into something that's truly interesting for you. Yes, you may have time to understand what regimen, what life schedule you may want. yes, you may have more resource perhaps to engage in some creative activities when you live on your own. But what else are you going to learn about yourself when you're fully on your own? Perhaps you will learn the importance of having people around. Perhaps you will look at the importance of social life, look at the importance of having some healthy attachment from different perspectives through living alone. But it is people who challenge us to understand the limitations that we have currently, that we could work on. It is people who demonstrate to us something that we ourselves may have, and something that hinders our progress in all areas of life. Kiva is giving a comment that alone you could probably focus more on self-reflection, maybe. Yes, but that also usually comes as a result, it may be a useful practice when a person, for example, had a relationship, close relationship, and then they go live alone to understand what was happening in that relationship, as opposed to running away from it. But there is oftentimes this factor that I will just run away from this situation. I will just run away from this uncomfortable relationship situation. I will run away, and that gives some relief. Not always it will end in reflection. So while there is, of course, you're very right that there is time and place for being alone, for reflecting on things. But glorifying loneliness as the sole source of self-reflection may not be necessarily productive. Because when you don't have a mirror to guide you in your changes, to guide you in understanding how your behaviors work applied to other people, how the world talks to you, how the world communicates to you, it may be quite challenging. And yeah, understand that this is a very important remark as well. People who, for example, escaped abusive situations, for them, it's incredibly important to sit and live build some safe environment for themselves. Build some restful space in which they can recollect, in which they can heal their psyche. It is a very important thing. So thank you for bringing it up as a remark. But avoiding people or looking at people as something not representative of your environment may be something where you close the door to the most profound change, to the most profound progress that you may have in your life. I'm speaking from experience, I'm speaking from observation, I'm speaking from Tantric perspective and knowledge. So create safe space for themselves, yes. Yes, it's one of the parts of their therapy, of course. Yeah, that will be very important. Especially people who went through like physical abuse, people who went through a bunch of problems like that. Build some safe space in which they elect who they are allowing. Allow only safe people, allow only comfortable communication at first, while their psyche is healing, while it's coming back to some regulated point, while they're also maybe going through therapy, or if they have adequate relatives, if they have adequate friends. All of these people can come together and aid them in their healing. So it's not I want you to understand, and thank you everyone for bringing it up, that it's not like a black and white thing. It's not polar thing, either all or nothing thing. What I want to bring up is that oftentimes when we live with someone, when we form close bonds, oftentimes we can hear the complaints like, he's such an idiot, or she's such an idiot, she's such a bitch, she's that, she's this. People forget that this is their chosen person. And they perhaps forget that they could themselves go dig into their relationship and understand where their system enables certain behaviors of their partners. and how their own behaviors are enabling the behaviors of their partners. Why the system that they built exists. In every relationship in general, when you analyze your surroundings, you probably have some patterns. Like you are more likely to meet people with certain behavioral traits. Perhaps you are often hearing the same messaging from people. Or people, for example, tend to use you as the person to come and nag about something. Or people use you, always come to you for help, and you can't say no, for example. No matter how hard and how pointless the job is, you never can say no, so people always come to you for help. So you end up being frustrated deep inside. But at the same time, this urge to help people is irresistible somehow. Maybe people usually put you in hierarchical, maybe you end up in hierarchical relationships in which people look down at you or look up at you. You feel lonely. Maybe people envy you. Maybe you feel like you always have to be defensive because people just envy you all the time. It feels like they want to come and grab something of you. So there are patterns. I'll tell you my personal story because this talk happened, this idea crystallized for me a couple of days ago when I realized that my friend circle, in general my acquaintances circle, active acquaintances, is not so big. But I noticed that in my environment, there's the same pattern being replayed. People manipulating me or trying to manipulate me into being the savior, into being the donor of something. And I rebelled against it several days ago because I literally was subscribed. On Telegram, I'm subscribed to several channels. And one channel gives some useful information, but 2/3 of the content contains some form of manipulations like that. Manipulations about how the person is being very good and how everybody is being bad and how they reward good behaviors and how they punish bad behaviors in their opinion and how they try to be a very good person, try hard, and that's why, and nobody appreciates that. Then some other acquaintance of mine also does this thing when they bring up certain virtues and then they get upset at the world for those virtues not being met respectfully or with gratitude or with as much appraisal as they envision. So I'm thinking to myself, why do I end up in the situations in which I'm being demonstrated with this behavior, that there is this pattern of I'm trying so hard but nobody values me type of thing. And the second thing that struck me was, why am I always in closer relationships in which I allow myself to be affected by that? That I read it and it gives you an emotional response that why would you say that? Why am I affected by that? So these two things, I start analyzing them. Why is this possible in my environment? If I envision a person that I would respect, I always have the person I want to be inside. So when I develop to a certain level, I always have this new person I want to be that I start kind of manifesting. In general, when I manifest, I don't have any material desires usually. I just can't. I can't have like precise material desires. I can't like get entertained. They don't charge me as much. But I usually manifest the person that I aspire to be. So new developmental stage, which actually encompasses the traits and facets of personality that determine the reality or that are determined by the reality. Because remember, we always talk about entanglement. So that person I want to be, that person I aspire to be, is not bothered by things that currently bother me. But that person that I aspire to be has different attributes to their life, to her life. This person I want to be, aspire to be, is capable of different things, is managing life differently, feels about life differently. The spectrum of emotions is different. What is of concern for her is different. So I move to that level. And that brings certain reality. So when I thought about it, okay, why? I have this vision of myself, but I still have these people in my surroundings. And these people still affecting me. Why? It does not match. Hence, I need to perform some work. I start thinking, this person that I aspire to be, what things she would be doing instead of sitting and dwelling on these behaviors of people. What would she be doing instead of feeling manipulated into feeling a certain way by these people? So I start using this contradiction and I start building, because these people are still within your environment. Why? Why do I agree for these people to be in my environment? And actually, imagine the garden analogy. We started with gardening. Why do these people do things in my garden when I have a totally different project for my garden? What's happening? It makes no sense. So, why? What side of mine requires work right now such that this is impossible? In general, this practice of the person I want to be, it creates the new persona, new complex of traits that make certain things impossible to penetrate in your reality. It's not the 100% shield, of course, and it's always work in progress. Our development is always work in progress. But through this logic, you just understand that something enables that. There is part of personality that requires work. And when I start thinking about it, indeed, what person, what persona, what personality would not allow this to happen? What would that person be doing? Imagine yesterday it was, or when a couple of days ago, I don't remember. Basically, it was a few nights ago, maybe, or yesterday. I am opening my phone and I'm seeing this trigger post that sounded to me absolutely like nasty, like blatant manipulation, and I get fired up. So the person I want to be, what would this person be doing in place of reading all of that? I start analyzing, okay, I'm following this person for this content. There is some, like 1/3 of the content is useful. I don't necessarily apply all of it. I don't know what it will be, what this content will be. But I have certain expectation and I follow it. Do I extract much helpfulness from that? No. But I still expect that maybe if I unsubscribe from this person, I will be missing out on something. And then ask myself, the person I want to be would know exactly what she's doing with her business, with her life, with her path. Would she be following someone for the chance of some useful information to come her way? Would she be sitting there expecting something to be given that she doesn't know what it is, but maybe perhaps it will be something needed? No, she knows exactly what to do. And when she has a very firm grip on her business, on her path, on her understanding of life, what she wants, this person will be looking specifically for the voids. This person will be, okay, I need to learn this better. For example, I need to learn how to enable this part of my project. I'll go, I pay someone, and I will seek help in that specific thing, if I know what I'm doing. If I don't know what I'm doing with my time, I am going to be susceptible to all of that. Somebody will say something, I'm susceptible because I don't own it. Manipulations, different like those influences, they come to our life in the areas where we don't own it. And the question is, why don't we own it? Why are we not responsible for this area of life? And indeed, there is much more useful stuff we could be doing in place of engaging in relationships with manipulations, engaging in relationships with some toxicity. But over and over, we may be engaging in the relationships with toxicity and manipulation. So there is huge world of possibilities, huge world of opportunities, huge world, huge amount of stuff that we could be doing, but we're over and over engaging in the relationships with toxicity and manipulations. Or say, no, manipulations, they encompass a lot of things. So instead of doing what we want to be doing, we are going and pursuing something that we don't want to be doing, but we feel like we almost don't have a choice. So this is where actually revisiting relationships, revisiting people, and using people. This is one facet, one way we can use people to see what relationships we tend to form with others. What is happening? What are the patterns? We write them down and we analyze, okay, I am in these cycles over and over. And if I want to live differently, if I want to live as a different person, then how this, will it fit? Will it have place in that person's life? And what are the actions that we can take to not have this bother us anymore? It just doesn't have place in my life. That's the declaration. But as with everything, we cannot leave a void. Everything that we have plays some role, plays a function. When I am, for example, completely flustered by this interaction with this post, that starts triggering some emotions, that somebody tries to guilt me for something absolutely pointless. These emotions, what do they do to me? Why do I need these emotions? Do I want to discharge something? Do I have some residual mental energy to expand? Do I want to release my anxiety about something? Do I want to feel in control of something? Do I want to feel some familiarity right now? What is that? What is that response? But we can approach it through analyzing what I'm seeking there, or we can approach it through this thing, the person I want to be, and how they would handle the situation. Or what they would be doing in place of the situation, because in their life this situation doesn't exist. And that's actually the hack that I use for like stress headaches. When I had the stress headaches, I developed this practice, the person I want to be. Oftentimes my stress headaches were because of something related to work in particular. So I developed the persona, aristocratic persona, who doesn't have to worry about anything associated with job, with work, with money, with anything. Everything of that matter is covered in her life. So I built this aristocratic persona who physically cannot be bothered by that. And through connecting with that persona, meditating through that persona, my headache would be gone in 5 minutes. This was a miracle. Like, it would be hours of headache. Then I go do this meditation, the person I want to be, connecting with the persona that for whom my issues don't exist. Headache is gone. I don't even need to focus on headache. I don't need to focus on my issue. I don't need to go do some introspection, reflection, analysis, nothing. I just connect with that persona. And it's gone. So there is actually this physical response to that. Thank you guys so much for your comments. I see your compliments, really pleasant. That's why I don't want anyone in my garden. Everything ties to meditation. This is intriguing. Yeah, meditation being just creating. Remember, we're creating, organizing some space in which we can go in our mind or in our body in a controllable, safe fashion where nothing distracts us. Because if I tell you right now, for example, you're doing something, perhaps you're not even watching this stream, a lot of you, but listening to this stream while doing something. So you have two streams of stimulus right now. You have my voice, some information, and then whatever you're focusing on. And then I'll tell you to, for example, channel some warm energy through your toes up to your hips. You probably won't be able to focus on that as much while doing what you're doing while listening to the live stream. Especially if you're standing, doing something, using your legs as just points of support. Not even sitting when they're just loose. But if everything is at use, if your mind is divided into different things, if you are perhaps even in some low-key stress, these thought processes, those attempts to connect with body parts, connect with certain issues, with your emotions, with your mental state, they will be less fruitful. So that's why we create a space in which we perform a dedicated practice. Yeah, I'm one of those people multitasking right now. Yes, Kiva. It's pretty common. I mean, I myself, as a user of YouTube, I also usually play it when I'm doing something. Okay, I was confused first in the middle of conversation, but I'm slowly starting to get it. Thank you for clear explanation. Thank you so much, Kiva. Yeah, it's a little bit twisted path, but thank you for telling me that actually it's getting clear. But that's, yeah, one example how we use people. So we use people by acknowledging that there are repetitive patterns. And then, when we use those repetitive patterns, and that's the second layer to using people here, we can find the archetype, we can find some type of persona, like for me it's that aristocratic lady. We can find this archetype. It can be some cheerful tropical woman who's just running in the waves, for example, for certain things. And we can connect with that archetype by using people, because this title can actually sound pretty like Machiavelli-esque, you know, pretty dark if we treat it in some other ways. But we can connect with the existing archetypes and pull them up, connect with them, and the problem dissolves. It does not exist in that person's life. They feel secure where they are. Without, you see, the magic there is that the archetype that does not have this problem doesn't have the problem or the need for that problem to exist, because they are stable, they're comfortable in a different environment where they have other circumstances. So they cannot be bothered by what we have as a problem. And so this story of mine, I have two people with whom, even three people sometimes, with whom I'm replaying actually largely a childhood scenario of being manipulated into a good behavior in which you need to play this guessing game around things that you even didn't know exist. And if you don't guess how to satisfy things that you don't even know exist, you are the bad guy. And now you're guilted, and now you are forced, kind of, if you don't acknowledge this, if you don't notice this trend, you're forced to compensate by being a good, even like extra good person. The way you are right now is not enough. This is that scenario. The way you are right now is not enough. There was something where you messed up without you knowing that you could mess it up. You didn't know that it was a problem. Now you already messed up and you need to do this guessing game and also find the way to please that person. So it turns into this total circus in which you become this clown, effectively. And that is a very pitiful, very disgusting role to be in. That is against human dignity, in a sense. You realize that you're being diminished into a function, that somebody needs their emotions contained, processed, and then you are also at the same time depreciated. So you're taking on responsibility, weight of responsibility from this very immature person, And at the same time, you're depreciated. So that's a super crack in self-esteem, because you're investing effort, seemingly, for a participation award. And at the same time, you're showing that your time, your effort are pointless. So that's how gross this situation is. But that's a recurring theme. So environment is what determines comfortability, or I guess forms it. It is both environment and its entanglement between environment and your current adaptations. And whether your current adaptations also, it's your desire, how you envision your environment to be, the reality of the environment, and your relationship with that. So if we try to elaborate on this, the comfortability, you have several scenarios. For example, your income is, somebody's income, I don't want to project on anyone, somebody's income is $1,000. Using $1,000, they work certain job, and they can rent an apartment that's, the rent is $500. $500 they have for groceries and whatever. What can they do? They can assess, okay, if I work and I want to make more money, for example, I want to afford something essential, something that's really affecting my quality of life. I want to be able to afford that. Can I save up on food, for example? No, food is essential. Can I save up on rent? No, rent is already as cheap as it gets. So what can I do? The only way I can change the situation is to change my approach. But if a person, for example, makes $3,000 but lives in $500 apartment and spends $500 on groceries, and they want something essential, then they can adapt and they can use some income towards what they want. Or they can kind of ration in a way that they can allocate their resources differently, such that it improves their quality of life. So this person can both cope by rearranging things, by adapting themselves, or this person can go and also pursue the job in which they will be getting paid more, rewarded better, or build something else. So it really depends on the pressure factor, like how pressurized you are already. And a lot of times, the magic happens when you end up in the situations in which you're pressurized to such extent that you're in that first scenario, where there's no other way for you out of the situation other than, hello Garuda, when you are in such a pressure cooker that there is no other way for you to change the environment other than change. Meditating there and trying to cope will be quite harmful, because we're talking about things that are on the essential plane. When we think about situations which are not in pressure cooker, your comfort level is already quite high. You can, for example, you have good friend and you have a couple of toxic relationships. Can you sustain that? You probably can. When you're totally lonely and the only people you're exposed to are people who are toxic, that's a pressure cooker. That's where you will start acknowledging that, why am I in this situation? Why my surroundings are toxic people? What am I doing with my life that I'm in this position, that there's no alternative? So I need to step out and start doing something. So that's the discernment, where discernment comes. How we are going to work with our situation. Are we just going to become this monk inside of our apartment, like inside of our tiny room, surrounded by lions and tigers, some like super dark world, and we're going to meditate ourselves into coping with it? Or are we going to sit and meditate on how we actually improve the environment? These are the situations that pressure cooker, this unbearable environment, that's what pushes people to pursue leadership. This is where people they're forced. They're forced to embrace leadership. They're forced to commit. They're forced to take responsibility. Because their environment becomes too scary to coexist with. Hence, this fear totally kills the fear of stepping out. Because the fear of stepping out becomes smaller than the fear of realizing that this is going to be the entire life. Because oftentimes, coexisting, coping with the problem, takes much more energy than solving the problem. That's something that I want you to write down everywhere. That coexisting, coping with the problem, eats up much more resource, much more energy, much more material resources than solving a problem. And solving a problem starts with desire, starts with rebellion, starts with taking on the leadership role. Let me see the chat. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, it's yourself, but also your relationship with environment. Yes. Where you see the logic of the live streams, we're talking about relationships with self, like internal function. And then we start moving on to interpersonal relationships. Because also, we'll talk today about the Tantric principle of that ideal lover, how that thing can work with us, how this thing can be used as a tool, helping us live much better life. So we'll unfold this in several different ways. Should I be taking notes? Will this be on the test? No, you can just note it in your head. I mean, this is a good idea to... It's a good idea to keep in mind, because a lot of times we settle for things that we don't need to settle for. They become automations. Some like pile of some garbage sitting in your yard can become part of your comfort zone, but you don't realize that every day you're looking at a pile of garbage. So you remove that pile of garbage and suddenly you have clean and beautiful area. And your mind reads clean and beautiful area. So that's what I'm talking about. That coexistence with the problem on a daily basis takes much more energy than solving the problem. Same with any like health things or lifestyle related health things. Fix your sleep for one, and stop suffering from coffee, anxiety, heart racing and stuff like that. Just focus on your sleep. Spend 1 week optimizing that thing. Then anything it can be. I'm listening to this while putting baby to sleep. Nice. Okay, nice to hear. We'll be going into more depth about it. Yes. So if I talk about my example again, the example of that, this being coerced into relationships in which which I feel manipulated to feel a certain way. So people have a lot of influence on me. People have power over me to manipulate me into thinking a certain way. When they choose the right words, when they frame it in the proper thing. How can I now exercise leadership? How can I take it in my own hands, and through that person I want to be, through this archetype, through the leadership that's inherent to that archetype, change the situation? What can I do? I can think first. This person will probably be spending time differently. This person will not be looking at her phone for entertainment. Because when we look at the phone for entertainment, that's a passive rule. I want to look at what the world has to throw at me. I'm not controlling it. I'm partially controlling it by clicking on certain posts that are of interest, but it's largely randomized. So this shows a very passive role. I'm taking a phone. This is when I surrender my power, when I start interacting with content. And then when I also expect that certain person will cater to me information that I need, it's also a very passive role. So the opposite of that would be to think in that moment. Use that situation when that is unfavorable, that you don't want to settle for. You use that situation as the trigger. What am I not doing right now? My life surely could be improved. My quality of life surely, always, everybody's life quality can always be improved. There are always things that we could be doing instead. There are always things that we should own better than that we can own better, that we can work on better. And I was thinking, it's nighttime, I'm preparing for bed. I'm starting to list the person that I want to be, for example, would be doing face massage, would be doing gymnastics, perhaps would be dancing before bed, perhaps would be doing some small exercise, meditating, breathing, reading, thinking about something, taking notes about the plan tomorrow. Maybe I want to sketch a plan for what I want to be doing because it's the work day next day. Maybe I want to be inspired by something. Maybe I want to do something pleasant. I'm not doing that. I'm literally engaging with someone manipulating me. I made a choice to allow this to happen, to allow this randomness to happen. I literally embraced, I surrendered my control of my life at that point. I allowed some randomness and got upset at the randomness that I allowed myself to be exposed to. Somebody's hurt. And moreover, out of all the things that I could have connected, because it's Telegram, I'm subscribed to several channels. Out of all the things, I allowed myself to be captured by that energy. The person I want to be is very careful about the energy, because the more you grow, any growth, any randomness took control. Yes. So, not just even randomness, but it's like some negative. I allowed randomness. Then somebody else's programming, somebody else's emotions to haunt me for the moment. And then when we think about people who take a lot of responsibility in their life, have a lot that they can do, and there's this grandiose part, when you're born with high level of energy, like you're born with it, you have this makeup of high energy. If you're not working towards bringing this energy to fruition, working to its capacity, to its potential, all of that becomes anxiety, all of that becomes self-destruction. And so when this capacity exists, when this potential exists, to exercise it fully, we need to perform internal work, because we need to be able to take more and more responsibility. Taking responsibility is a gradual process. We need to expand our skill of taking responsibility. We need to constantly develop our organizational skills, business operations skills, always educating ourselves on different matters that are related to our business. There's a ton to do if you want to be a leader, if you want to develop in life. If you afford that in your life, this is the priority. It shows. What's in the comments here? American flag wrote us that this energy, all this garbage you're speaking about is garbage. Maybe you are... You're so mad. Wow. Yes, I'm Russian. Thank you, MMX toe tags. Thank you. Somebody sent me golden poop. Thank you, guys. Now I'm being rated. It's bold of you to assume that I'm she, guys, who are giving me a numerical evaluation. These almost sound like challenges for yourself, but for good results. Yes, because those things, when you're a person who's susceptible to manipulations, that steals sometimes a day of life, because your mind is going to run back and forth between like what was happening there. Oh my God, why would they say that? I should have responded differently. This is such a crazy situation. I would like to do this with them. I would like to say that to them. I have so many ideas for them. So those people who are manipulating you, they are haunting your mind. They're stealing your time. Which means that the value of this time is very low for you. And then we expect good results in life. Then we expect that every area or that garden of our life will be blooming. No, you're watering somebody else's garden. The wrong garden being watered. And with expanding responsibility comes the need to manage their energy better. Because you know how people can become very, very tired, very exhausted when they're just doing their normal adult things. Then they have children, they're even more exhausted. Then they have more children, they're even more exhausted. And they blame kids, they blame some things on that. When likely in reality, there must be this factor of acknowledging that the more responsibility you take, the more you expand your scope of responsibility, the more people you start managing, the more attentive you need to be to what you're doing with yourself, with your time. Because you need to become perfect conductor, because you're conducting energy through you. You need to become very flexible, very capable in your mind. Very capable mind requires you to be calm. Now, being very capable at thinking requires you to be clean. It requires your brain to not be overworked with different garbage, with garbage thoughts, with garbage activities. You need to be calm, and you need to be focused, be able to be focused. That's what's needed for leadership in any area. That's what's needed for owning your life. You cannot just go into the world, throw yourself at that, and be very susceptible to just anything that comes your way. That's when you start listening to every gossip there is. That's when you're going to connect yourself to every single bad news report, every nagging session. Interesting, you know? But then there are several hours of you needing to undo all that. Can a person with a lot of responsibility afford that? No. Can a person who wants to live better afford that? No. That's how we use people. And that actually becomes when you start framing it this way, that I am using people. I am using surrounding people to identify my vulnerabilities. That's when you stop being used. Because manipulation is when you are used as a resource for someone. Without your will. Without any reward. And oftentimes without even any productive result afterwards. Totally useless pumping of energy. That brings you nowhere, person who manipulates nowhere, because they're unhappy, they cannot appreciate it, they cannot be happy with that. They're coexisting with the problem, that's why they're opting for manipulations. So they're miserable, you're getting miserable through that. It's pointless, it's fruitless. So instead of being used, you start using people as to show me the path, show me the vulnerability. Where am I missing? Where am I missing control over my life? In the areas where I can control. Because what happens if we don't do this, if we don't do this audit, when we analyze our relationships with others, where we look at people, what do people communicate to us through their behavior when we're not doing this? What happens is we feel frustration. And we start trying to control our life in the areas where we cannot control. Or when we start pursuing modes of control in which it's harmful. For example, hyper-controlling food, hyper-controlling weight or appearance, hyper-controlling partner, for example, hyper-controlling politics through engaging with some television, through whatever means of we start trying to control geopolitics. A lot of people, because they cannot control a large chunk of their life, they're controlling geopolitics. So that's the paradox that happens. That's how important it is to bring control to areas where you can control and where you can do the sorting. And that's also part of it is what I just brought up. Identify why I am still in this situation when these manipulations are possible. Part of it also acknowledge why don't I just scroll through? Why do I get stuck in that? Why do I look at this message out of all messages that I just say, yup, yup, yup? I look at that one post and it becomes a firework in my mind. Do I need to run away from that to prevent this from happening in my life? Or should I actually embrace it, go in depth of this phenomenon, sit with this phenomenon, sit with this frustration, and understand something about myself? Because there's always temptation that, this person said something bad. I'm not gonna interact with that. I'm not gonna even think about that. I'm upset. I'm going to move on. That's what happens sometimes in relationships. Relationships become challenging. Some challenge comes up. And people are just like, no, I'm just gonna part. I'm not gonna handle all of that. If this is a recurring thing, you are going to replay the scenario either with the next partner, or in your friendship, or with your parents, or at work. Because we can also swap those roles. So right now, it's some toxic friend of yours doing this to you. And it's very painful. You're very aware of that. You feel how nasty. And you're like, I'm just not going to talk to this person. I'm going to cut them off. Little do you know, a couple of months later, you will start being hyper aware of this same thing happening at work. Are you going to be quitting jobs? Are you going to be quitting everything? Are you going to just be running around the world? Then living like a hermit somewhere? Likely not. So those lessons, they need to be treated with seriousness and with an apologetic scrutiny. Why is this happening and how I can work with that? What is my friend right now trying to communicate to me? Why is my friend producing this reaction? Because indeed, if you observe, a lot of times it will be that it's your friend, it's your partner, it's your job, parents, everyone acts like this upon you. But it's just one person triggers you the most. Maybe it's your partner who does that to you. In some specific instance, pisses you off so much. And that's where we need to step in and start working on that. This is one way we use people. The second way of using people is actually super fun. Perhaps related to what I just talked about, but in a little bit different fashion. It's judgment. In spiritual New Age communities, judgment, and like in Christian communities, it's a very big deal that don't judge. Judgment, I think, in general, is a useful feature. Judgment can be replaced with discernment. I can look at someone, I can identify. I don't want to communicate with them. I don't want to add them to my close circle. It's just a discernment tool. Or, on the other hand, judgment can be used as, oh my God, did you see that? Did you see what she did? I don't know. She lost her mind, I think. Her relationship is not gonna work, and especially, oh my God, I don't know why she does this to herself. When we start thinking like this, when we start judging people, discussing their flaws, I came to functionalizing it as well. Whenever I do this, whatever I just judged, whatever amusement I just expressed about, oh my God, how is this possible? Why would this person act this way? I go and I'll ask myself afterwards, where do you behave the same way? And sure enough, most of the cases, I find that I do the same exact thing. Different capacity, perhaps different situations, but I do the same exact thing that I just judged. And that is a super liberating process, super liberating practice that I find to be, I call it social vaccination. When you go around, you allow yourself to judge everyone. You allow yourself to be completely unleashed in your judgment, whatever feelings people cause you to have. But then you do this simple thing. Turn it back at you. Turn it back at how you do the same exact thing. That's one way to use it. Then something that I don't necessarily, it's not necessarily my problem, but I think it can be a problem for somebody else. Judgment out of prohibition to do something. For example, such a bad person, such a terrible person, what does he allow himself? I actually worked with a person with such thing. And we're working on, don't you want the same freedom? Don't you want to be doing the same exact thing? Isn't it what you are craving in your life? From everything you're telling me, this is literally what you want to be doing. And this is the person who shows you the path. They are breathing it in and out. For them, it's nothing. So you can use that, whatever you're judging, whatever you're frustrated with, as permission. Analyze the person. Analyze how they're doing this. Analyze what is their method. How do they perceive life? How do they act? And learn it as their philosophy. Because they likely won't have feelings attached to that. When people have ease at doing something, that only means that they stepped over the feelings. There's no feelings about it. For example, for some person it will be incredibly difficult to, let's do some easy example, to post some like dance post on Instagram. They want to do it, but it's really difficult for them. They feel like they are no reputable person. And they think that the dance that they would want to post would be too outrageous. It would be something laughable to do. But then they see people who make a lot of money, who have a lot of fun, in fact, who show a lot of their energy, who get a lot of engagement. People feel good, and they themselves feel very appealed to that. Somebody doing a fun dance in bright clothes on social media. And they feel like they judge them. And the thing is that the person who is having fun with that, they don't have any feelings attached to that process. For them, it's yesterday's achievement. For them, it is something that they feel so neutrally they might even be annoyed by that. But for you, it's a huge big deal. So what to do in these circumstances? You connect with the energy of that person with a sense of ease. Because what we usually find very appealing, what we usually find very attractive, magnetizing, is when people do something with a sense of ease. They just realize themselves. They show themselves with ease. They're breathing in and out. There's no heaviness to that. They're not repressing themselves. And we envy that. So you can connect with that person by contemplating that person, who you want to judge for that, who you want to envy, who you want to debate, why do you do this? You can connect with their energy of ease. And even if you don't do the direct plagiarism, if you don't do direct replica of what they're doing, but you are just connecting with their energy to understand their mental method, their psychological method of pursuing things in life, you can learn so much. And then through everything that I just told about how to use people, through all of those 3 ways of using people, you usually will come to understanding how to tackle issues, how to tackle problem solving in other areas of your life. Just like the people showed me that I am susceptible to those manipulations and I am attracted to this silly drama, me fixing that, locating it elsewhere, will make me more dedicated, will make me a better performer in the areas that bring me to the next level in my quality of life. Because I'm opening up creative energy. I'm opening up time. Ton of resource is locked on the other side of that complex that I have. At every situation you're presented, you can be like, imagine something is given to you, some circumstance. You're always making a choice. Are you taking it or not? Am I accepting it or not? Like, is it mine or not? Does it belong in my environment or not? If the answer is yes, okay, sure, that's your life, that forms your life. If not, then you need to know what you're going to do instead. Some methodology that can be employed here. For example, you get triggered by certain types of content. For example, some people trigger you, some communication. What can be done in that moment? Alternatively, instead of just going and doing something or connecting with the person you want to be, you can listen to yourself and be like, what would I want instead? If this person right now acted like this upon me, said this upon me, if it is, for example, your parent who tells you something that's unpleasant, what would an ideal parent tell me? And this is where we're coming closer to our tantric practice of using this ideal lover. Let's think, okay, your mom told you something that always hurts you. What would your ideal mom tell you? Your ideal mom would tell you something else, perhaps you will even struggle to formulate it. But the ideal mom will say something that will inevitably make you think, did I do everything, or did I do the proper action to receive this message right now? What would I do in devotion to this ideal mom? Or if my partner, for example, a partner called you like the stupid bitch and left, what would your partner say in the circumstance that you just went through? What would it be? Okay, my love, let's settle down and then talk later. Something like that. What would be your response? What would be the approach that you would have in these relationships? If you imagine that, you will come up with several replicas, you will come up with several ways of addressing this issue. You would come up with a whole bunch of scenarios how otherwise you could be talking to them, how you could be communicating with them. So in the moment when for example, I got manipulated by that poster, by that person, and it tickled my something inside. Was that like fun kind of drama, fun entertainment? What would I want to be instead? I would want it to be something that's not demonstrative, that doesn't show that there's this benevolence, that this is like this, charity, striptease charity thing. And then I'm in the wrong. I start building a knowledge how I would feel if there was an environment of decency. If I had an environment that would be producing the words, the content that is very decent, that is very respectable and respectful, that is very down to earth, very harmonious and healed. In that environment, what type of person would I be? What kind of person I need to be to receive that message and feel excited about it, as opposed to being even negatively excited about the drama factor. And that brings you to this creative task now. That's another toy that we can create out of this whole thing, from the notion of how we can use people. Okay, rewrite that post, rewrite that message from a person, and see how you feel. See how it changes you. See that difference between you who is affected and you whose expectations, whose best expectations were met. And sit with that persona. Again, I'll just summarize that because somebody is lost. Kind of lost me. I don't know what you're talking about. So, we immerse ourselves in this crappy situation, crappy communication situation. Somebody says something to us. I sit and imagine what would they say that would give me respectful, pleasant, very decent, dignified sensation. I imagine them say that. And I observe my reaction to that. How I respond to that. What inside of me changes. And how I would curate the situation that would bring us to that outcome. And I start thinking in my mind, what words come to my mind? What thoughts come to my mind? If I want a different outcome. What behaviors come to my mind? So this is this trick also that can be used. Okay, another thing that we need to discuss, bring it up, something that we talked about in the very beginning, abusive relationships, severe abusive relationships, especially with some physical risks. We're not talking about these circumstances. We're talking about bearable toxic relationships. We're talking about bearable situations that are not posing risk for anyone. And then we can employ all of those toys, especially when there are repeated scenarios, especially when there is dysfunction in many areas of life. So this is something that's important to vocalize in this talk, in this communication, because there are people who will be victims of abuse, who will be sitting and trying to exercise this almighty attitude where they think that they will change their partner, that they can change the course of their relationship single-handedly, and they just need to try harder to be a good person. We're not talking about that, okay? I hope that's clear. We're talking about changing completely our scenario in a way that the situation, the toxic situations, cannot happen there. They cannot coexist. It's like, for example, there are humans and there are dogs. They're susceptible to different bacteria or different viruses. And they don't live in each other's bodies. They just can't. So you're transmuting your psyche in a way that certain things just don't affect you. And it was funny, by the way, because I had such a nice demonstration of that in real life. I saw people who are completely impermeable to things that trigger me to no end. That's the proof of the possibility of that you can actually change your attitude. You can change something about your behavior, about your perception of the world, and become imperceptible to things that previously were bothering you. The existence of people who are right now imperceptible to all of that. There are people who are minding their business, there are people who are enjoying their life in different ways, while you are struggling to understand why some bitch told you that, and now you are just you don't know how to handle yourself. That person will not be affected by that. Moreover, they not only would feel like that they have such high defenses against it, that they can just show middle finger to everyone who they don't like and move on. It just doesn't happen in their life in general. It just doesn't infiltrate their life. It's impossible. They don't need defenses. They're not susceptible to that. So that's what we're talking about. And then when we think about tantric practice with the ideal lover, the image of an ideal lover, it works in the same exact way. we build the persona that is that triggers our loving response, emotional response on all levels. We're fully enamored. We feel complete sense of being enamored. We visualize that persona. So basically, it's the ultimate fit for our expectations, for what this perfection is, for what this like object of love should be like. We create that in our mind. What do we do next? We start thinking. We step out of our first person thing. We become the director of this situation. And we look at that person and we need to find a matching partner. What attributes would the matching partner have? Can, for example, a very mature human, very strong, very active, grounded, with just that radiance, with this glow and radiance, with strength, who takes control over some areas of life, who is a leader, who is a very like powerful, present, healthy, strong persona. Would that persona be matched with someone who is inherently unhappy about life, whines all the time, wants ultimate care, throws tantrums, and doesn't want to take care of themselves? Will it be a match? Probably not. Hello everyone, let's see the chat. Thank you, great, good vibes, positive nature, face looks good, pretty. Thank you, Marcel. No, it wouldn't be match, exactly. It just would be some dissonance. We will look at this scene as a film director or as the person watching the movie, and we'll see dissonance. We'll see that, okay, this one person who's fully strong in their flow, creative flow, loves life, birds and sunshine, can handle things, remain steady, can contain their emotions. And this person, who is not capable of containing their emotions, managing their emotions, taking care of their life, managing their life, and has expectations that somebody will come, somebody like that, will come and give them their resource. That's actually why I'm talking about these attributes, is because it's a common scenario in which sometimes girls would want to be adopted, or some men want to be adopted, and they look for a very strong person. But there will never be a match if that person is fully healthy, if that person is fully healed and doesn't have any malicious intentions, or malicious intentions being driven by some weaknesses, some deep voids, that would make them want to pursue that. I'm not capable of managing my life, Ben. That's sad. Misery loves company. Yes, it's misery or some voids where people short circuit onto each other. Remember, whoever is with guys who are with me for a while, that short circuited relationships analogy where I was talking about the savior, for example, or huge parental figure and the person who needs to be saved. There's always some compensation happening in short circuited relationships. There's no development. These people are just like dropping down on the bottom gradually. Either mentally or materially, or together, or both, I mean. So those are the dynamics there. And when we envision this situation, now we need to think, what is that matching persona, matching human, that would create this divine, pure, prolific, developmental, joy-forward union, which is love in its good, like, global, probably not poetic necessarily, but this overwhelming sense of love that is synonymous to the flow of life, of enjoyment. What would be that person? Can we find attributes of this person We need to write them down as the filmmaker, as the creator of the scene. We need to see what will match organically. What resources, what functions, what qualities, what this person will have. What abilities they will have. How they will feel. What would be their internal state. Sometimes also, when I do my practices with the person I want to be, it's not even the thing where I'm imagining certain qualities or I'm like making lists of things. It's not like that. I usually imagine it as an emotional state, the background emotional state. It's a very brief thing that I'm focusing on in certain moments of high hormonal explosions and emotional explosions in very pleasant situations and meditations. Just a mere second to connect with that emotional, physical state. So what are these attributes? What is that emotional state? What can this person do? And we start connecting back to that. After we've described, after we've identified what's matching through this image of ideal lover, we go back to the first person now, and we're looking at this lover through the lens of that matching person. How does it feel? It will feel differently. That's how we use that person. That's another way we're using people. We're using that ideal lover. Now we're connecting with them through the first person, facing them, and we're contemplating them through the newly discovered system of qualities and traits. And it's not play pretend, because this lover exists only in your psyche. Everything that you can come up with only exists in your psyche. So it's all in your psyche anyway. It's not something external. When it feels authentic, it's all from your psyche. So you go to that thing, to that new framework of what you could be, what you can embody. You embody it. And you sit in this meditation and see the bliss that you're feeling when you are in this meditation, connecting from that developed, grown-up form that you took, how this connection with your ideal lover brings you a lot of pleasant emotions, pleasant sensations, pleasant impressions, ecstasy. Connect with them, do whatever you want in your fantasy at that point. Do you believe men should lead and women follow? Where? Where do you want to lead? Where women should follow? Which men? Tell me, which men? Who are these men? Who are these women? Where are they going? Where are they leading? How many men are going to be leading? How many women are going to follow? So the problem is mathematically inaccurately stated. It's not precise enough for me to answer this question. How much LSD did you do? What? Addicts. Never getting dating advice from a woman, fellas. Good for you, Yum Clapper. They're probably going on vacation. Leading each other. Yeah. I would need a woman who wants to feel heard and understood. Who wants to feel safe and not judged, because I'm more of a quiet person. Yeah. So you can contemplate that. You can contemplate that and see what other qualities this woman would be, because also we need to avoid rationalizations in this sense. It's more of an essential plane. If you can, Chad, I'm gonna refer to you as Chad if you don't mind. If you can go into the meditation specifically to contemplate this woman, how she feels, how she appears next to you, and then feel how you feel and what you would need to enhance in you, that will show you the path. That will show you. Also, it will show you the resource that you already have. That's an important thing, because we're not only working on something that we need to work on. it's something that we already have in us. This meditation shows you what you already have to put to use. That's the beauty of it. Because again, we're talking about automations. It all boils down to simple things. Automations, adaptations that we build. Like the first couple of decades of your life, you were like, or first decade of your life, you were very strongly influenced by your parents, by certain role models. You built automations based on that. Then you go into the outer world. You start adapting to the outer world. You build automations. The social circle oftentimes shrinks with age. You build automations for that. Then you watch shows. There's always programming going on. You build automations based on what you imprint from what you see on the screen. So you build automations from that. Right now, what we're doing, we're looking into more resources that exist to not act from within the automations that we already built and that brought us to the result that we don't want. But all of the resources you have in you. Just need to access them. And to access them, we're using those tricks. Like we're opting for people, or image of people, or archetypes of people, to see these new models, to actually reinforce them. Because something that does not exist in your psyche, something that's not organic to your psyche, will not influence you whatsoever. You'll be completely indifferent to that. You'll be blank to that. It will be almost invisible to you. Yo, what's up, bro? Nice hairstyle. When I try to be outgoing, it's just weird because that's not my personality. Yeah. It's also, there is a thing, when you see chat, it's a tricky thing, because you may feel like it's awkward. For women, some women, it might be like serious women, intellectual women. It might be hard to flirt. Not their personality. Let's reframe it as not my automation, because it's not my automation changes it from your personal law into something that you can use or not use. When you talk about that it's my automation or my current automation, you're allowing yourself a chance to perhaps exercise something different. Because you may be like, I'm not comfortable in the crowd. I'm not comfortable being around people. Automation, Smudgerson, is some behaviors that you developed that you do automatically. For example, a good example would be you walk the stairs. You never think that you're walking stairs. If you start thinking that you're walking stairs, you will start stumping, or like missing steps, or doing something weird. It might feel even weird or scary. So that's automations. Yes, Kiva, yeah, it might be outside of your comfort zone or outside of automations. And then it may be something that you may want to work on if it is something that you feel hinders you in life. If you say that you are not social, but you would want to be more social. Or if we use the principle of using people, if there is some person that you look at them and you're like, God, I wish I could be this social and charismatic around people. Or this person triggers me, they're so social and charismatic around people, people love them. If that happens in your life, that's also worthy of investigating and looking into. Because why am I ridding myself of this skill? Why am I choosing to settle for the law? Why am I writing the law of myself, where being unable to be social and outgoing is not part of my personality? It could as well be. Yes, you may have different activity of your psyche that will be, for example, some person will be extroverted and they can talk to people for 24 hours a day. You may be capable of doing that comfortably for 1 hour a day. So when it may be just something that you would want to use sporadically, it may not be something that you use all the time or something that defines you again. We're talking about this identity we hold on to, right? But it may be your newly acquired tool that when you need it, you can pull it up. and you can start using it. A hard-working woman cannot flirt, but she wants to date, and moreover, she doesn't not only want to date, but she wants to enjoy relationships. She's looking at that playful hee woman who is all like in her la la la, and she may be envious or uncomfortable about it. How about if we functionalize that and allow ourselves some newly discovered freedom? So that's how it works. Instead of, this is me, this is all that defines me, and I'm not gonna give it up. You become this like cute mushroom who is like, no, not going to do this. But we can try. Again, in controllable environment, in comfortable, controllable environment, we set up some practice in which we try using new behavioral patterns a little bit for as much time as it is comfortable, or even imagining ourselves how would react at first, how would act in a wanted form in a wanted situation. Yes, Maggie. Is that a spear? It's I use it for hair. When my bangs are short, I make a bun with these things. But now my bangs are long, so I use them as just a pointer. Don't be writing that down too about cute mushroom. I don't feel envious or resentful of social people. I would just like to have more charisma like they have. That's good. That's a very good starting point, because the resentment also, resentment can be a barrier. So if you don't feel resentful, but you actually have an active want, that's the best place to start. Cool example, thank you. But when I try to build that, it's out of character and I make a fool of myself in the past when I would try. That's why I'm talking about creating a safe environment. And also another thing is, you can play with different ways of approaching it. Because you may have your own kind of charisma. Because, sometimes again, we see some one thing, we limit ourselves to this is how it's supposed to be done. Maybe your charisma shines better in different circumstances. Again, there will be charismatic listeners. There will be charismatic, just people with charismatic presence. But that requires the understanding that and the acceptance of your specifics. The actually wonderful practice in Tantra is when you are training yourself to accept everything that is you. It's a given. Because oftentimes there is conflict, that there is something about me that I don't like, but I have to live with it. Neither you are solving the problem that you don't like, nor you are able to enjoy yourself with what's given. And that is when the problem is that when you are in conflict with something, you feel very strong feelings about it. It creates a barrier. It becomes an energy drain. It's not a just neutral understanding of things. It's something that drains the energy. So when you just understand everything about you, you write yourself down as a physical problem, or mathematical problem, that Bob had 5 apples, Kathy had 3 apples, Bob gave Kathy 2 apples. How many apples does Kathy have now? You write everything down. You treat everything just like a mathematical problem. Unbiased, neutrally. And you can neutralize it through running this acceptance thing, through an array of tantric practices. You learn to accept that as a given. Okay. For example, I cannot make jokes on the spot. Sure. Does it make me a worthless person? No. I just can't make jokes on the spot. Are jokes expected? Why am I supposed to be a clown in the society? Should I joke around? Like, I go out, should I joke around? Like, everybody's just like waiting for me to give a stand-up. And if I don't, there will be rotten tomatoes flying at me. No. So why do I have the concept that I need to be, for example, this professional joker? or saying something witty, but then another thing is, for example, if some people won't be able to find proper words in the moment, why are we not capable of finding proper words? Because we don't know ourselves, because we don't know our resources, we don't know where we're going, where we're from, and what is the objective of our communication right now, and we don't have a clear picture of who we are. So to prepare for the situations in which you need to be able to say something, to express an opinion, to express your point of view, you need to know what defines you. And that's also some self-exploratory activity, unbiased, judgmentless activity. Because then you will know what to say. Another thing is, when we have expectations about others, about communication, that also creates an emotional barrier. We start thinking, we start like saying that, stuttering and stuff, because we cannot like sustain the silence. We dehumanize others into judges, we turn them into functions. We regard society, we regard social circumstances as something that for some reason needs to devoid us of our feeling of ourselves. Why? Actually, my example also applies here. I had this idea, remember I was writing a post about something or whatever, where I had the expectation that I will be scouted by someone and present and given some artistic career. That was my fantasy. With that fantasy, I thought that every time I go out, I need to be performative. So I had this feeling of performance, that I always need to present myself in a certain way in the society. At home, I can eat any elaborate dish cleanly. I never have a problem with that. But should I go to a restaurant where I think I'm on stage? Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's evaluating me right now. I would go to the restaurant and suddenly I would start being unable to put salad leaf in my mouth. I would not be able to, I would start dropping food down. Why? Only because the difference between me eating at home and eating in the restaurant, the only difference was my expectations about the society, that I'm being watched, that I'm on stage, that I need to perform, that I need to deliver. Why and what to do? I went to the restaurant and I'm like sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm at home, I'm just at home. Because I know that at home I don't have a problem holding my fork and putting food in my mouth. I do it with grace. And gradually what happened through that example with restaurant, because it was the most outrageous, I started cultivating, expanding it, that anytime I go out, I'm at home. I feel at home. Of course, it didn't heal my thing fully, because I still have habit of like sprinting. I have big city life habit of sprinting, which pumps my cortisol, adrenaline. When I starting my sympathetic nervous system is fully activated through that sprinting. I started slowing down when I remember about this, when I feel like I'm losing my perception of reality. Everything becomes fogged by anxiety that came out of nowhere. So I slowed down. I focus, for example, on some, French cinema. You know how playful people lived in 1960s, or this life was portrayed. Everybody was so playful, leisurely, walking through Paris, focusing on something like that, some archetypes like that. And like, there's no need to run. There's no need to carry tension, because you think that it's beautiful. You think that your presentable self is super beautiful or respectable, and everybody looks at you like, wow. In reality, it looks like, do I need to worry? Like, what's going on? Where's this person running from to? Like, why are they so anxious? It doesn't serve any purpose, really. having a concept that something needs to be in a certain way. Let me see. Understandable? It's the worry of what can happen, I guess. Yes. How did you get so beautiful? My mama and papa. Thank you for a compliment. I've made people at work laugh before, but usually I'm adding to what they're already talking about. Do you have any concept about it? Or are you content with that? Where have you been all my life? Right here waiting. Get points, thank you, Kiva. Being in the public eye can give a different reaction than being at home. Yes, and so reflection, why? Because I had expectation that I'm performing. But when I'm performing, I'm not living. That's another thing. When I'm on this stage trying to appeal someone who I don't even know, some idea of someone who must see me, when I'm trying to do that, entitling them to function, with also very low chance of running into them, and without embodying the values that are actually needed to be a part of certain society that I aspire to be, when I'm nervous about it, it creates nothing productive. Because the person who would be appealing the circumstances that I was envisioning for myself, that person, if I meditated on that, if I actually sat down and put pieces together for the goal, like what personality traits are needed for that to happen, if I actually connected with that and embodied that, I would realize that it's very slow-paced, very decent, calm and comfortable person, relaxed person, because for them, they're not looking with these hungry eyes to be saved or helped. They have something to give themselves, and this is usually what attracts people. When you're going in public with hungry eyes, with allowing people to judge you, evaluate you, when you come with that mindset, when you yourself assign authority, when you yourself assign the judge, you elected the judges for yourself, you are in the beneath position. When you're below, people are above, and you are in the position who is receiving judgment or wants to receive resources. But if you want to be noticed by a future partner, by anything related to your career, any friendships or anything, you must be in the position that's capable of exchange, which means that you're a giver, which means they have resource, which means that you're not anxious. Because people who has resource, they are calm. You're not wasting resource. You're comfortable. You have resource. You have comfortable. You're not scared of the environment. You're comfortable. You have something to give. And that's contrary to how it may appear without actually going in depth and facing what you want, the person that you want by your side. Without actually understanding how this person and you should click together, you are likely going to bring something that's quite opposite of what you think is needed. Whose woman's in this is this? What? Which women do you think have owners? I mean, we're in the United States. I don't know, like ownership, strange concept here. I'm enjoying your live stream. Thank you, Garuda. If you have any questions, topics, please propose. Right? Madam, your insights are always appreciated, and clear explanations give a better understanding of each topic. Спасибо большое. Thank you, Kiva. And so we use this perfect lover. We can use not just lover, we can use perfect partner, companion for this meditation to uncover new behavior. likely what will happen? You will understand that there is no need to be this like shaky dog, always expecting some treat or praise from people. You will see yourself as an equal to anybody else. You will recognize yourself as a mighty capable person. And that will start attracting people. That will start attracting opportunities. Because you are going to be a giver. Not a deficient person who is buying their, who are there to purchase love, who are there to purchase some salvation from their complexes and such. Who are there to be calmed and soothed by someone. I'm overwhelmed, fair Gami. From what? Why are you overwhelmed? Let me drink tea. Done. So what are you overwhelmed with? With my stream or with the life in general? Are you in the States by chance? Yes, I am in the States. Why? Ben. Hey. Urfa. What's up? How is life? I have qualities that are useful and comfortable to be around, but bringing someone into my life who would appreciate them isn't easy. Well, it's why does it perceive to you something that's not easy? Because again, if you're trying to, what's the barrier on the way of that? Because if you are showing your qualities, there's another person out there who will be magnetized to your qualities, will just come to you and the magic happens. But if you are having those qualities, but you also have a barrier that conceals them, and you're trying to find a person who has matching qualities but has barrier that conceal them, then you're not gonna match. That will be hard. That will be like a capacitor in a sense. Instead of conductor, it will be a capacitor with a lot of tension and pressure. If it's by the stream, I get overwhelmed too with notes, but I got better. Okay, Kiva, good to know. You're so pretty. Thank you so much for your kind words. With life, I have goals and I feel late. I'm 35 years old. Now, Fairgami, if you want to talk more, feel free to share some things that are most prominently affect you right now. Because I believe that if you reflect on what bothers you, you will find some keywords. So we can start unfolding your issue through something that's most on the top of your mind right now. I'm enjoying your stream. Thank you, Shaki. I'm just listening on the background. Really appreciate it. Happy that it's entertaining. My last girlfriend came into my life almost completely by chance. Life is driven by statistics, but also life is equilibrium. If you think about it, nature's law implies that there are so many elements living in equilibrium. That's the property of nature. Vast statistical system with so many elements all living in equilibrium. Even if temporarily it seems like some disturbance, but it's always self-regulates. So that's the law of nature, equilibrium. Also think about the following thing. You go into the crowd, you go to the concert somewhere, some I don't like festivals, don't want to think about them. You go somewhere to some concert, to the street. Do you feel connected with just any person on the street? Probably not. You're probably looking at them and you're picking, okay, this is kind of my tribe, this person like kind of irritates me. I don't like this person. So you will pick like a few people that you feel some emotions towards, some people who will feel super appealed to, But most people, vast number of people, you will even not notice because they are not your phenotype. So the selection circle kind of narrows down to still being able to recognize, throwing yourself and being able to recognize these people. There's regulatory mechanism in nature that A, enables equilibrium, and B, enables recognition of people. So it's not complete chance. You are going to be exactly where you need to be with exact person that will be your match. And if we take the law of this equilibrium as law. So complete chance is limited by your genetics, your complete chance is limited by your upbringing, complete chance is limited by your current state of mind. So there are many factors that are not make it not complete chance, not randomizer. James, hi, nice to see you. You will also, if you analyze, if you put together, for example, your last girlfriend and your grandma from both sides, paternal or maternal, you likely are going to pick out people who are genetically similar to you in some way. Any relative can be very close in features. So, how to heal from shame through writing, and is there a useful method? Shame. Shame for what? What is the dominant of shame? How long ago did it start and how it manifests in your life? What's that shame about? Are you some type of therapist in your life? Yeah, Drew, I'm a Tantra therapist, Tantra coach. My credentials are bachelor's in physics, PhD in microsystems engineering, and Tantra coach. And I also have experience working in science research consulting and corporate consulting. Nethers, I am absolutely insane. Nice. Congratulations on that. You can do anything you want. Body image, long time ago. Body image, okay. What's now with body image? Congratulations to you. Thank you so much, Drew. Hello, David. Nethers is a cannibal. Do you enjoy it or do you actually do it? Thank you, Kiva. And what was done also? Which role body image play in your role? What role does body image play right now in your life? Like what is, for example, what's your what you want and how body image, for example, gets on the way. Like what does it do to you? Or like this is what I want, or this is me as I want it to be, but this is my body image. Not my tall, not enough. So height problems, height perception problems. I think people who match with me the best are just rare, and the kind of person is hard to find on purpose. I mean, you need to understand that it's like regarding friends or women I'd like to be in a relationship with. Okay. I mean, of course, you are not forcing relationships. You cannot force the relationships. But are you deep inside? Remember our previous conversation. I want to reflect on that. Are you ready for that? Do you have the readiness? Like, for example, I put you right now, some magic force puts you in the crowd right now and be like, okay, in this crowd there are 20 friends, 20 people who can be your friends and 20 women who can be your women. So are you going to be like, wow, enthusiastically selecting among them? Or are you going to be finding reasons for why it's not supposed to work? I'm a girl who never cared about height for men. There are girls that care more about charisma. Yeah, that's actually, yeah. There are many facets to a person. It's first of all, yeah, there are many people to choose from, And there are many qualities that make you a well-rounded human with so many qualities. And the glow in a person is also something that's very important. Of course, everyone can have their personal preferences. So that's something we need to be sober about, right? We need to be sober about that. We have preferences, other people have preferences. So we can't expect to be liked just by everyone. But given certain considerations, what are other things that are affecting our life path? And why we choose to worry about it? New subscriber here, but time to feed my cat. Keep up the great advice. Thank you so much, Drew. Say hi to your cat. Can you help me? I don't know, what help do you need? Nethers, what help do you need? You look like you're totally content with what you're doing. I did that friend man in relationships, it turned bad, never again. I kid daughter with my best friend, we got together and turned bad, feel apart. Oh. Not necessarily sure what you mean, James. If you can elaborate. My dog came. Dog time. Nethers, you never declared that it's your problem. DCXXV, hello. I'm not helping people without problems. I'm not gonna sit here and analyze something that's not the problem. I saw someone and trying same thing I did. Nethers, the fact that you're absolutely insane doesn't say that you have a problem with it, okay? Am I the problem? I don't know. My best friends I've ever had in my life usually talk to me first, like in high school. You see, you magnetize people. But I'm saying that the answer to that question, are you actually ready for that? Big room, ton of people, but 20 people can be your best friends. 20 women can be your women, potential partner, like very good match partners. Are you going to take an action there? Or is there some barrier you would want to think about, no. Are there any internal hindrances there? Because it's very convenient sometimes. You know how I'm conservative, all women are not progressive, so relationships are impossible. Do you want the relationship or not? Why are we talking about you being conservative and women being not conservative? You want relationship or not? That's the point. That's usually you just don't want it. You just have some internal thing that's mañana. No one is ever negatively thinking your problem. What? You tell me all wrong, Kate. What part of Eastern Europe are you from? From Russia. What's going on there, guy? I'm afraid of rejection and making a fool of myself. Well, what do you think about in yourself? If it's your ego talking about something. What's in your ego right now? What your ego is unhappy about? Why does your ego go into introspection thinking that there is some flaw in you? Why do you need to think about some flaw in you that you focus on the aspect of rejection? What it tells me is that there is some perceived flaw, so you do a lot of introspection, which means that it's blocked giving, because when we're calm about ourselves, we just do stuff. When there is a need to sit and do introspection, there is some concept about self. So what is that in the ego that tells you that there is possibility of rejection, that there's something to be feared about? What's that? Where is this? Because it doesn't sound like a pure intention. We go into relationship to enjoy, to share happiness, love, to give, to care, to get inspired together. This pure intention of love. When we go and imagine love, that there is some ego thing that needs to be fulfilled, what's that about? Madam does make a good point. Thank you, Kiva. What is your current opinion on citizens of the United States? Which citizens? Can you name the exact citizens and I will give you my opinion on them? Very inspirational. Thank you, Isaac. I do a lot of reflection normally after I have been overly reactive. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, but it's also important to come to some resolution. After we have gone through conflict, after some rage, after some, I don't know, some unpleasant situation, especially if they repeat themselves, it's always the moment to go and rewrite my own law or the law of the couple. That's what differentiates functional relationship and dysfunctional relationship. Dysfunctional relationship, people are replaying the same thing for example, the family will have scandal about some dirty shoes somewhere every week, where they're almost on the verge of divorce because of those dirty shoes. Everybody looks at them already again. But the couple just does it, nothing changes. They just use those dirty shoes to go and dump all of the tension that they've accumulated throughout the work week. They need those dirty shoes because they need some management. But those dirty shoes destroy the relationships at the same time. So this is dysfunctional relationships, when for 10 years people will be arguing about dirty shoes. Functional relationships will be okay, what are we doing right now? Dirty shoes, are they a problem? Okay, how can we fix dirty shoes? Okay. Oh, another thing. Why are we so pissed about dirty shoes today? Because of this and this. Okay. So we need to find ways to better manage our emotions, our lifestyle. Can we replace this, for example, go on dates on Friday, such that we are together, we feel like we're together, we're in love, and so on, whatever. Yes, we can. So we're putting new law in place. Citizens of the United States are awesome. So rejection is being a focus point. Yes. Why is it a focus point? I'm back, moth to the flame, Charlie. The question you ask is hard to answer quickly in this format. Chad, it's okay. Think about it. It's not, you're not supposed to think about it on the spot. The answer can come to you in a surprising fashion. Again, I want to just reiterate that there's pure intention for love, there's pure intention for relationships, but then there is this thing, fear of rejection. Why? Why do you need it? What's the function? So, relationship love is here, fear of rejection is here. Why walk this path, not this path? What are your thoughts on cuckolding? I don't think about it. I mean, if you are into it, go for it. It's sexual freedom. I mean, generally, like all citizens, do you like them or do you not? I was just wondering because of the current geopolitics between the US and Russia. When was it better? And plus also, citizens are not representative of their leaders. It's, I don't understand where you're coming from. No. Yes, you have to marry. The way she ties her tea bags to the mug handle. Hey, Linda. How are you? Thank you. I'm good. How are you? I don't reject you. You're beautiful. What? Okay. Let me take you shopping for nice things and unisex perfumes. You can stay at my mansion. Perfumes actually I like, but a lot of them I get annoyed by soon. Maybe it's a focus point because it's just the idea of feeling not wanted. But why is the focus on receiving? Like someone must... Imagine, Kiva, you're on a good point, right? So you're supporting that or you're elaborating, you're expanding on that idea very, very nicely. I like it a lot. The idea of not being wanted, not feeling wanted. Why is my focus on feeling wanted? I want to form a couple. I have enough resource to form a couple. Imagine it's also, I want to be intimate with someone. Intimacy is high energy process. I want to be intimate with someone. I bring in energy. I'm a giver there. I'm an exchanger. When it's me, for me, it needs to be satisfied on your own. We're not shopping for people's functions. We're not shopping for people's resources when we have clean, pure intention for relationship. I misunderstood you then. When you ask a question, you're possibly presenting the question for me to ask myself. That frames our interaction on the last stream differently. Yes. Yeah, that's how it works pretty much. You ask yourself, you need to do introspection, and it's not something necessarily on the surface. Yeah. You can also, for example, you can be, if you hear this question, you can be like, oh, indeed. And you may not even need to think about the purpose of that. For example, if we paint this thing, right? There's this pure intention for love, and then there is this fear of fear of being rejected, or feeling of looking like a fool. Two different paths, right? You can think about it. Okay, why am I on this path? You can think about not just like, oh, why am I on this path? And you start like going and exploring it. You can think about it. Why am I in general choosing this path instead of this path when I can just go this path? It can be done this way, because when you're connecting with this path, maybe through the image of your relationships, through the image of your lover, and through so many different things, you can just awaken when you commit to this path of pure love, relationship, pure intention for love and relationships. You just start perceiving yourself differently. You are going to unlock the qualities of your personality that allow you to walk this path when you commit to this path. That's it. You start receiving feedback from the system immediately. Commitment opens up resources from the system. Commitment to certain system. And you want to be in the system of this pure relationship. You want to be on this path. You commit to it. You are receiving resources from it. If you are focusing on this path, where I'm afraid of being rejected, you are receiving bonuses and rewards from the system that you are committed to this path. Found this by chance and I like it. Thank you so much, Ferragami. I love how when you respond to certain silly comments intelligently and with sincerity, it disarms their ability to troll and they don't know what to do. Dwayne, I've done ex-vegan thing for several years. I've learned that craft. This ties back to the last stream topic about the system and environment. Yes. Yeah, actually, I don't remember what exactly it was, because they kind of mix up in my mind the chronology. But, yeah. I've got a challenge for you. Sure. Go ahead. So yeah, we can ask the question of like, why am I doing this? As like, why? What's the, how did it happen type of thing? Or we can go and ask this question, why am I on this path? Why I'm doing this? As of like, why the heck am I doing this? Right? So that's the difference there as well when I'm asking you questions. You can approach them from different perspectives. Some people will love to like go and dig in the guts and like find the reasons, and that's actually psychoanalysis will be doing that. Certain types of psychotherapy will go into this like depth, making sure that you understand everything. Or we can do a hybrid approach when we do, out of curiosity, investigate why it's happening, while at the same time building adaptations for different approach. Some people who are very like flexible, already trained, they can just see, okay, this path is crappy, I'm going on this path. They just switch gears. That's probably after years of training, we can do that, or months of training. You can start just switching and then catching yourself when you are doing something that's from the old path. You still start being very aware of that, vigilant. She's cute, but she talks out of the front 2 teeth of her mouth. I do like her. Okay. What? How does it? There's those. There are those weird posts like when they show she's 10 out of 10, and they show super beautiful outfits and everything in lifestyle. It's like she's 10 out of 10, as if like, but is not really bot. It was just like to make this joke type of thing. It's like sounds like that to me. How do these two things in any contradiction or in any humorous link to each other? Looking Jew, what? Can you please what GEWD means? I don't know this word. You have to admit that was funny. I don't have to admit anything. Still keeping up. Thank you, Kiva. I love your voice. It's original. It is original. Nature made it. That's how Slavics talk. Slavics are different. I myself talk differently. Depends on how you, I guess, work with your facial muscles mostly. I like your nose. Thank you so much. I also like it. American slang can be confusing. Yeah, it is. There's also not just American slang, it's also some niche slang. So we're still waiting for Kushbrach F5S to decipher what he meant. Why are Slavic people discriminated in Western Europe? Because people are, that's how social engineering works. Everybody's a biorobot, and here on my channel we're talking about how to actually minimize the dysfunctional automations and programming that does not suit your goals. Because a lot of us are subjected to a bunch of programming and training and adaptations that we tend to drag later in life, and then we run into suffering, because suffering is not adapted to certain situation or being frustrated. So we need to build new adaptations. We need to do some work. And today's stream, by the way, is about that. We started with this thing, how some people meditate to cope with something, and we are here on our channel. We meditate to act upon something, to bring some productive change. Especially Germans. Ask Germans, I don't know. I don't associate with people who are exhibiting such behaviors. I mean, you associate with them as much as it's required for your personal goals. You can be political, for sure. If for work you need to talk to someone. But be bigger than all of that, I think. in general, mass phenomena are not of interest to me. A lot of times on my streams, people present mass phenomena that they think that, oh, this is this way, the system is this way, the system is that way, people are this, people are that. Like earlier I was asked about some citizens, some men, women. I don't know which men and women you're talking about. I don't know which citizens you're talking about. I don't know which those Europeans you're talking about. Though there are many people, if we don't narrow it down to precise particular problems, there is none of my business to talk about. I don't know. Those people are of no interest to me. I will never, as an individual, I'm not going to interface with them, because individual interfaces with an individual, or the interface through official means, through the system, through paperwork, through contracts, through agreements. Because otherwise we build a hierarchy when there is an individual and some anonymous entity. That's not a equal exchange. It's actually a good rule to pursue equal exchange, or everything that's unequal exchange, when you're a physical entity, when you're sole proprietor. You pursue interaction with the system through paperwork, through legal means. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, some people, some masses, some organizations, something telling something has nothing to do with your personal choices. Exactly, she helped and blessing for her words. It helps out big time. Thank you, James. Socioeconomic conditions that create certain behaviors is more interesting to talk about than what their ethnicity is. Yeah, it's very interesting, mental gymnastics to think what brought certain phenomena to fruition, understanding the psychology of mass, understanding the psychology of an average person who is susceptible to social programming, understanding people's vulnerabilities. It's very interesting to think about it scientifically. But when it's like what these people think about these people, which people? Name, surname, please. I will talk to them and ask them, otherwise I don't know what they think. Maybe they don't think. A lot of people don't think. They just don't have that feature. They just repeat. They become the translators of what they receive passively. So if they don't think, then what's my business about? What do they think? They don't think. They spit preformed opinion. Equal exchanges work. You would be a great politician. You know what? If it was more fair game, I probably would pursue that type of career, actually. But I think you can develop certain skills, and actually I need to develop more of those skills. It would be more productive, I think, in a given circumstances to use those skills for working outside of the systemic political system. Wow, you're beautiful. Thank you so much. I don't mean to throw out unrelated topics, but do speak and read Russian. Yes, I am very well equipped with my Russian. How to meditate effectively, Fergami is asking. Should we focus on breathing only or think about how to accomplish my goals? That's a very good question, Fergami. Meditation in general doesn't have a rule. There's no rule. The only perhaps rule that may make it, that rules even, we're talking about setups. We can make meditation more or less effective. We can make meditation suit our goals, or we can approach meditation without particular goal in mind. We can be at different levels in our habit to meditate. And one thing about meditation that can be probably useful to keep in mind is, again, creating it as a dedicated space. That one of the important things, hygiene rules for meditation, is that it is a dedicated space. That I know that, okay, my meditation will last 10 minutes. For these 10 minutes, my mind is totally devoted to meditation. I'm safe. I'm telling everyone around me that for the next 10 minutes, I'm meditating. I know that I own those 10 minutes. Everything else is our creative work. What do I want out of this meditation? You're saying how to meditate effectively. Effectiveness implies a goal. What do you want efficiency for? What effect do you want from meditation? Should we focus on breathing only or think about how to accomplish goals? There's different methodology to meditation. But I want to hear what effect you want. That's hilarious. Most people don't think so. True. Yeah. Thinking is something that's not automation. Active thinking. Because there's also passive thinking. If you're thinking some automated thought, let's say like you have some like go-to thoughts. You wake up in the middle of the night with some cortisol, for example. You will have some automated thoughts. They're not active thoughts. They're passive thoughts. They're in your automations also. So there are different levels to that. Active thinking, the most perhaps difficult thing to do with your mind is exercise active thinking, meta thinking. Analyze why I'm thinking what I'm thinking, and then think something else if it's more aligned with your pursuits right now. Tuning down your thoughts, working on them. Because yes, some people don't think altogether. Some people think but think automatically, automatic thoughts. The good skill to have is to actually go beyond that level and start thinking about what you're thinking, why you're thinking it, and also develop, always broaden your mind. Always push yourself beyond your previous capabilities. Challenge your thoughts, challenge your beliefs. Construct new thoughts. Even like right now, for example, Kiva is taking notes when listening to my streams. Taking notes is step up from just listening passively. You can also take notes, and you can take also interpretive notes. Or you can deeply think through everything that's said, which is impossible because it's a quick-paced thing. But there are different levels to that. You can just listen. You can listen attentively. You can listen and interpret or think further, which will make you lose thread of thought of mind. But you will start going with your own concept. You will start thinking of what is it about? How can I understand it? You can also be like, is it wrong? Can it be wrong? That's active thinking. Then you take notes, you put on paper, then you start seeing, okay, I want to ask a question to this phrase. This phrase is like interesting or doesn't appear like it's logical with this thing. That's already active note-taking. Then revisiting notes and thinking about them. That's another layer of analysis. That's another layer of engagement with your thoughts. So there are many levels to that as well. What's your business? My business is I'm a Tantra coach and a Tantra therapist. Politics is so intriguing. You already talk like a politician. This girl has a positive disposition. Her words are true. Thank you, guys. Fairgami, I want you to tell me what the desired effect of meditation that you want, and then I will give you precisely what you might look into. One more. Is your internal monologue in Russian because that's what you started off with? Is it in English because you maybe speak it more often? It depends on what type of information I'm encountering. And also there's another funny thing is that English language and Russian language, they have different things that exist only in them and that are very convenient to use. So I sometimes use a hybrid. I don't know. It's hard. It's changing all the time, depending on what's my dominant source of information, who I'm interacting with right now. Another thing is that certain things only exist in my English persona, while other things exist in my Russian persona. There are also limitations because I'm very well versed in certain things. My Russian language is very advanced. My English language is less advanced. So sometimes I cannot express my Russian thoughts accurately in English. It gives me some discomfort. But I never felt motivated enough, I guess, to learn that. Then another thing that bothers me about this bilingual thing is that there's a huge bunch of context, social context and cultural context, and certain like funny things, like witty statements that describe certain situations, or references to literature characters that I cannot use in English. And that turns into such a clumsy thing. Sometimes I want to illustrate something or tell some funny story, and it always ends up being just like everybody's they just like, it's not funny. It turns out not to be not funny because people are out of context, and I can't Translate well. Listen, I'll subscribe tomorrow. I'll see you again, James. Thank you so much. Good for you that I'm actually streaming tomorrow. Yes, I'm deep note taker. It's probably a terrible habit. I don't know. No. Take the note. I'm just intrigued with how bilingual people think in their heads, more so than people who speak 3 or more languages. My wife's boyfriend writes notes all the time. That's an interesting situation to be in. Is that a chopstick or a drumstick? It's a hair stick. That's true. I learned a lot of words and concepts can't be directly translated. Especially, it's a whole like bunch of things, references to certain things that cannot be translated, and anecdotes too. Hello, John. So where were we at? I want my new friend Fergami to tell me about meditation, what they're pursuing in meditation, how to meditate effectively. Are you still there, Fergami? Because meditation can be, my favorite thing to do is walk through the psyche. Walk through the psyche is, you can use that. Actually, I have workshop. Actually, what am I doing? I have workshop coming up with the Tantric ritual / meditation setup that you can perform on your own without the guide necessarily. That is based on one core Tantric practice and also on the principle of walk through the psyche a little bit. But that workshop that I want to conduct, it's free. You can sign up on my website. The date is to be determined, but likely I will conduct it on Saturday around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So on my website, go sign up. Just fill out the form. It's called Modern Ritual or Ritual in Tantra. And that thing is where you in meditation, you go into meditation, a creative space, mental space. You go and you can work on your thoughts, beliefs, current things that are bothering you. I was giving an example. That will be the ritual in which I, for example, was rewriting my experience that was very crazy. After I watched the movie Lily Forever, every time I would just like go into some not so active thinking mode or doing something passive, it was haunting me. The movie was, the impressions of the movie were haunting me. And I was just so fatigued from that because I could not have that happening again. I could not be happy, I could not live with it happening all the time. Then also it coincided with me being affected by some other people, their emotions, and I started having this mental chewing gum on how I would solve their problems and stuff. Then I also, when I went into the ritual, basically, I went into this process and I started going very meticulously sorting everything that bothers me on the background. And I found a few more things. And so I needed to replace them. I was substituting, I was healing those experiences. When I healed all of these experiences, I made new understanding of them. I made new feeling, because when we're going through experiences, for example, you talk to someone, it's not just your thought about them. It's a whole experience. It's an overwhelming thing. Your emotions turned on, your body turned on, your thinking turned on. You got activated on all levels because it's relatable. It's a human. You get, before you even communicate, before anything rational happened, your hormones already started being produced. Your emotions are already firing up. So it's not just rational thinking about this person. The movie, music, picture, relatedness, emotions, intensity, everything is curated to trigger all senses. So it's not just a rational understanding. You cannot say stop thinking about it or think something positive about the situation. All of your body is responding to that. So when we go into that meditation or in this ritual, we are turning on all of the senses. We are working in the same space in which we got affected. We engage as much stimulus as was during that situation to actually fix the situation, fix the aftermath of the situation, and go exit this ritual with absolutely clear mind, that is capable of functioning. Without this garbage, that's haunting. So that's how it works. And that's a meditation. There's a meditation that is to connect yourself with some body part. You can go do some introspection, physical introspection. You can do meditation. Soon on my website, also subscribe to my newsletter to receive notification for when I upload the practices and the introductory course to Tantra. In that practice, you are journeying through your entire body, and that makes you achieve the deepest relaxation. Meditation, meditation. Do you breathe there? Do you focus on breathing? In a very specific way. Do you focus on any thoughts? No. Do you focus on any particular body part? No. But it's a scanning thing. It's almost like body-oriented hypnosis that puts you in a very cool state of mind in which you are so relaxed, without forcing in relaxation, without being thinking about any tension, without thinking about anything. If you're relaxed, you can sleep. It will be wonderful practice for you to actually learn to sleep well and release all of the background tensions that cause, like, I don't know, jaw clenching, a lot of crap like that. So that's meditation. There's meditation in which you can do visualizations, in which you can work with archetypes, in which you can sit and, for example, reinforce for yourself. You can reinforce a certain archetype that you're missing. Like, you want to be a more strong, more powerful, let's say, public speaker. You want to bump up your public speaking skill. Find public speaker who you vibe with, who resembles you in some sense, and reinforce in your mind, enhance this image of this speaker, what they're doing, what's their energy. Embody that, like, suck it up, embody that. Or maybe you want the whole gallery of archetypes loaded up. We do that. We interact with objects, we interact with everything. So that's Tantric meditation. There's so many kinds of them. There's meditation that trains your brain. Also subscribe, I will be posting it soon. I was working on that actually. I take breaks from my live stream for several days, and I was working on preparing those things. So there's meditation that trains your brain to enter the deep rest state. It's an exercise, 5-minute long, I think, exercise. There are 2 varieties of that. Trains your brain to enter deep rest. It's an exercise. Then another thing, you can do meditations with skills. You go and you, like with archetypes, you load up skills that you can use in real life. Or, and we were talking about it on one of the previous streams, you can, for example, you feel some concept about yourself. For example, you're small, strong, not mighty. But you want to be mighty, powerful, you want to be able to speak your truth, you want to be resilient and present yourself with dignity. So we go to this state and we find the method of becoming this thing, however, whatever image you assign to it. And you live through that. You exit the meditation, you exit in this state, and you see, okay, how does real life feel from that state? Meditation. It's a tool. It's an instrument. It's an exercise. What is that, the wand? Yes. Very interesting. Thank you, Kiva. What's Tantra? Tantra is... Okay, we're back to this definition. There are many definitions to Tantra. There are many ways to frame it. I think it will be useful if I just tell you what it is and how it works. What it can achieve. I think it will be most interesting. Tantra, let's word it as a method. It's a system of tools that bring you from feeling dysfunction to feeling capable, joyful, resilient, in the flow. So that's a system of tools, methods that bring you from that. That's the system which allows you to work with your mind, body, your emotions in a united fashion. Because if there is some disconnect between your body and mind, between your mind and emotions, emotions and your body, then you're not going to be effective in life. You're not going to be feeling alive. Life will feel weird. You will be looking at some dysfunction. It will focus you on dysfunction because it's not how it's supposed to be. The ideal state in which we feel alive, in which we feel happy, which we can feel ecstasy of life, that further translates into sexuality, because tantric sex is something that everybody knows about. Tantra in general is something that's very obscure and can take on different forms and shapes. Tantra that I'm teaching is that a system of methods to connect you back, all components of yourself, to remove this, to replace this conflict between mind and body, for example. Replace it with unity between mind and body, to bring your emotions and mind together, emotions and body together, learn how they function all together, how they interact, how they affect each other, and what can be done with that. And you learn to become more receptive, more capable of experiencing emotions, pleasure. Because people think that they endure stress, and it's a stimulus that's very prominent in our society. But they don't realize that enjoyment also requires resources. To enjoy something, to feel pleasure, you need resources. If you don't have resources, and because all of your body, all of the energy that your body produces, the energy that you get from food, from breathing, biochemical energy, the body wastes resources on coping with chronic stress because of some dissatisfaction, because of some separation between your mind and body and everything. You're just surviving. Which pleasure are we talking about? If you're disconnected from your body, you're not going to feel your body parts even. You don't know that they exist. They are numb. What you exercise grows. What you don't exercise becomes redundant. Your brain loses connection with that. So how to retrain that capability of being able to enjoy things? We need to manage stress, and we need to retrain our body to enjoy. That's what Tantra does as well. Psychological problems are solved with Tantra. Psychophysical problems are solved with Tantra. Something like, for example, psychogenic infertility, because sometimes body is totally in check. Ovulation happens, or spermogenesis happens. Everything functions. Pregnancy doesn't happen. Or libido disorders, or disorders of sexual spectrum, erectile dysfunction in males, psychogenic erectile dysfunction, or painful intercourse in women. These things are being solved with Tantra as well, because it works together. Body and mind work together. And there are tools that allow us to come to this function, because there are many types of dysfunction, but function is found primarily in this unity and finding ability to enjoy, finding resource by learning that you have many more resources in life. You're much more connected with life. You can have much more energy than you feel right now to embrace so many more experiences and actually feel ecstasy about life. Because I personally think and feel there's paradise inside. There's Garden of Eden inside. When this union is achieved, there's Garden of Eden. You can always go back to it. In your fully relaxed, enjoyable, high energy state, Garden of Eden. The world is the Garden of Eden. Life is just paradise. When there is dysfunction, tunnel vision happens. Inability to see clearly, hence propagation of problem, because when we don't see clearly, we don't know how to solve the problem, we propagate it. Being defensive, holding on to stuff, holding on to trauma, holding on to identities. out of defense, out of familiarity. We cannot pivot. Life is just dragging us around instead of pouring through us, allowing us to feel the flow of life. Is there levels in Tantra? Yes, there are levels in Tantra. You need to watch my 13 steps of Tantra, as Kiva suggested. Thank you so much, Kiva. Kiva suggested that video. That goes in order from step 1 to step 13, which is the door to Tantric sex. How to start practicing. I really suggest that you watch that video and subscribe to my newsletter such that I can notify you, because I will be posting introductory course specifically. Maybe I will do introductory, and I probably will do, yeah, we'll keep it introductory. Self-study course, yeah. Because everything afterwards probably will require feedback. So it will have like limited seats. But I want people to be able to practice things that don't need supervision as well. So that's something work in progress for me. But you also fair gummy. There are things that we're doing some practices in live stream as well. There are a couple of them, recordings, in which there are practices. Something, by the way, simple that I need to invest in learning more about Tantra. Yeah, watch my video, Garuda, watch 13 Steps of Tantra, and yeah, I give pretty good explanations there. So, what did I want to say? How to start practicing. There are simple things that you can start practicing, because first skill that we master is the work with focus, and also work with relaxation, and just simple things. Yeah. We got the quote. Yay! For quotes, I'm reading a quote. That's our rule. Meanwhile, Italy was ransacked for funds, and the provinces were ruined, and privileged communities alike. Even the gods were included in the looting. Temples at Rome were robbed and emptied of the gold dedicated to the triumphs and vows, the ambitions and fears of generations of Romans. Plunder from Asia and Greece included not only offerings but actual statues of the gods. 2 agents were sent to these provinces. One, Acritus, was an ex-slave capable of any depravity. The other, Secundus Carinus, professed Greek culture, but no virtue from it percolated to his heart. Uh, 13 Steps of Tantra, which is worth the 2 hours. Yeah, also you can double speed it probably, if you are short on time. Okay, we'll check it out after this live. It's I was like performing really like from the depth of my heart in this video, in 13 Steps of Tantra. So if you are in more high-paced mood, probably it won't sit well with you, Garuda. I would suggest you watch it when you have a moment in which you can actually like flow. Because it was an intense video for me. That was the live, I made a live stream, I think only 80 people joined. I usually have like a couple of thousand people join over the course of the whole stream. That video was very like few people there. And I just went in like, it was private circle. Like, you know, Kiva, we have those streams sometimes with very few people. And then it turns into this very chamber work. Oh my God, Kiva. You're in America? Yes, I'm in America. If you hold your breath for 20 seconds, I'll send you $20. Gotta plug your nose though, you got this. Money first. I'm not gonna do it without it. I learned. Pressed enter before I finished my book. I was like, I learned. I'm like, good. Would be interesting to know what. Okay, I'll watch in the morning. I tend to be in my best mood. Sure. See how, like, check the vibe. I don't know. Maybe you'll feel like watching it tonight. Gotta make it first before I send the money. That's the whole point. It's a habit I need to break. I need to remember when you say quote and don't write. Just watch out for Bible quotes, I guess. No, Q, it's fine. So, Chad, what you learned, share with us. And then we're going to summarize our today's stream. But you know what? Somebody will show up with something something interesting to discuss now, with some task to tackle. Любимый, пришел пес. Hello, out in space. I learned not too long ago that the fuel I learned to always check for quotes and make the word quote notification to the line. Yeah. It's okay, Chad. Keep going. I don't want you to feel frustrated though by that. Although, why not? You know, when you say, I don't want you to feel this way, why do you always say that? That kind of like robs people of their entitlement to their feelings. Or trying to take responsibility for feelings. Trying to protect yourself from somebody else's frustration. Yeah, guys, think about what you want to ask a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist, while Chad is working on putting a message in a proper shape. And we're going to summarize our tonight's topic. And yes, subscribe to the newsletter, whoever is interested in being notified when I post the practices. How you use people, that we went over. Yes, we did how we use people, and also the meditations. The meditation for coping versus meditation for solving problems. But most of the talk was how to use people. We have a question. Do you like African American men? Which men? And show me the men, and we'll tell you if I like them. And environment, yes. That's another thing that you will hear on my channel. When we see, do you like these men? Which men? Like, show me particular men, and I will tell you which men I need to, like, assess. As a phenomenon, I mean, it's like, you know, people say that I love dogs. Well, you love dogs. Which dogs do you love? You probably actively love only, like, your dog. Maybe some dog that you used to know. All dogs, are you going to love them? No, in principle, it's that, like, phony thing. You know, like, it's not an actionable love. You just, like, you love the fact that they exist. And that it's, like, just, you enjoy the fact that something lives and thrives. That's how people usually describe love to, that's how people usually experience love to some general things. But when we talk about actionable love, that's when we need to talk about the precise people, because everybody has 24 hours in a day. Everybody, not 24, 16 hours of awake time in a day. So to actionably love, we can love only so many people. We can do only so much. We can be interested only in so many things in the 16-hour window, with like 10 hours being outside of our hygiene, taking care of something. If we subtract work as well, then it also will shrink to a couple of hours of spare time in which we can actually actionably love someone. Do you like African American men? I don't have like that thing that's subject to my analysis. I can't bring it to my attention. Just as any group of people that I like, dislike, it just doesn't. If you show me a specific person, I would be like, okay, I like this person. I consider them to be my friend. Or no, I don't like this person because of these qualities. I don't consider them to be my friend, but I'm happy that they exist. So that's what I'm talking about. That this discourse doesn't make sense, like to like groups of people. When you hear that somebody likes groups of people, it's phony. Or love them especially. That's phony. They usually keep in mind certain archetype or certain person by whom they judge this group of people. Same when they dislike the group of people. Because they have some experience with someone and they have stereotype, they have their own stereotype. You know, like for example, you won't name your child Alex because there was some nasty Alex in your life. And now you're like, no, Alex is like kind of thing. So people love and dislike and dislike, or love and not love things based on their singular experiences. That's why it's an empty talk. Do you love Americans like American citizens was earlier? What do you think about American citizens? Which American citizens? Who are they? Which? The ones that I live with, yes. Some abstract Bob and Sarah, probably not. I don't know. I don't know them. Maybe yes. Question, yes, Kiva. Do you like dark meat or white meat? Are you attracted to men and women? Love makes the world go around, but nothing brings people together more than mutual hatred. Again, which people? And mutual hatred. Hatred must have some purpose. Usually it's insecurity of resources. It usually stems from some insecurity. The desire to team up, because you realize that alone you're not capable of securing resources. They declassified documents and studies that proved manifestation is real. I think that our thoughts or statements have power. It's not thoughts, it's actions. Material world changes under the influence of actions. Not thoughts, intentions and actions. That's the law. Material world only can change under the influence of actions. And actions are the thought that you are not able to keep inside. It's an energetic thought. This is action. When you have a thought that inspires you so much, that generates so much energy, that you can't keep it inside. It needs to materialize. So that's how it works. Thought alone, a person who is just laying on the couch like this, with zero energy, thinking about something, will not manifest anything. It's always thought plus energy, ramped up to the extent in which you don't feel like you have a choice to not act on that. That changes the world. I love everyone equally till they give me a good reason not to, even people I don't know. Amazing speech. Thank you, Fergami. Thank you, madam. Is it assistive viewing? I just want to make sure I write topic-related notes. No, I was actually addressing that global thinking phenomenon, where people bring up those. Do you love these? Do you love that? Do you love bagels? Well, some bagels, maybe when they're fresh, I would consider having, but Do you love French cuisine? I can't have cheese, for example. I can't stand the smell, so I won't be able to enjoy part of French cuisine. If you tell me specific dishes in French cuisine, I will be able to tell you if I like them or not. So, you need to take some vitamins or something. Wow. You're not as smart as you think you are. I don't have a concept of my intelligence. I don't know, like, Don Kibol. I don't have a concept of my smartness. That's something that I can't even evaluate that. In general, I cannot evaluate from within how smart I am. Also, what is smartness? Smartness is relative, because you can be smart but be unable to tackle your tasks or achieve certain things that you want. Or you can be not as book smart, for example, as somebody else, but you can be living in accordance to your vision, in accordance to your goals and pursuits, because you just do very targeted assessment of what it is you need to do. You do very targeted actions. You don't overthink things. So smartness is an application. For example, you buy some gentle shampoo for, let's say, dyed hair that's supposed to be super non-stripping, but you have very greasy scalp that requires some super hardcore thing, or you want to wash away with this shampoo, you want to wash away, let's say, grease, some motor grease from your floor. Will this shampoo be bad? Dysfunctional? Terrible? Yes, for that application, because you just misuse it. So I don't, first of all, I don't think the concept of my smartness. I just do what I want and say what I want. And second thing is that smartness is a relative and quite applicable and application-driven thing. So if you have any complexes, by the way, Don, I want you to reflect on that when you make this comment. Why is this in your value system? That, like, this comment, you wanted to write it, right? So why is it in your value system? What is your concept about your intelligence? Think about it. It might be an interesting thing. Why do you all have to be so mean to her? Barbara, they're not mean. Not to me. It's a property of character. And people just express themselves, so I don't perceive it as meanness. So it's, thank you for support. I really appreciate your kindness. But at the same time, by the way, the first thunderstorm of the year. It's wonderful. Okay, good, because I wrote about the global response you mentioned. I was hoping you wouldn't say, no, it's not topic related. For the simple fact I didn't want to erase cross out. Спасибо. Sure. Barbara, we can't argue with irrelevance, we just laugh at it. Toxic masculinity. Whoa, I'm proud. Hello, I love your handle, toxic masculinity. So amazing. Do you have a channel? What is it about? Stop talking to me, wife. WTF. Hola. There is a certain way manifestation works which they don't go into detail about. But I'm telling you, the recipe, I think, will be that you put energy and thoughts, and then you crank up your energy so much that you don't feel like you can not act. You only have one choice, to act on it. That's how things are happening. I was just curious, maybe mantra is part of Tantra. Somewhat. The mantra, by the way, affirmation, yeah, but we formulate a phrase that's a summary. If you watch 13 Steps of Tantra, there is a phrase that you formulate for that encompasses everything that constitutes your vision of what you want. And you use it, you use this phrase or this image, this form. You use it in the end of the meditations that include deep relaxation. Or devotion meditations and stuff like that. But that is to activate your brain to refocusing on that. It's to fortify the dominant of that. Such that, again, the goal is to make it so strong that you start taking actions to it. No, I'm telling Chad to stop talking to my wife. Who's your wife? By the way, how does your toxic masculinity manifest? I'm curious. I mean, is it like some humorous identity of yours, or is it true self-perception? So, Kiva, let's do the recap while everybody's goofing around. Let's do the recap. That's for real now. So, in this video, we've covered the topics of meditation as coping versus action, and we considered the criteria that make either choice relevant, such as the conditions in which we are not presented a choice, we don't feel like we have a choice to act. So we'll turn meditation into the tool to actually embrace the change, something to power us up and give us the strength and understanding of how to act. As an alternative, we considered the case in which meditation could be used to actually teach you how to take advantage of your situation, how to perhaps calm down in a certain situation when situation is not pressing you out of itself. So there's variability. But it's important to not perhaps blindly settle for the notion that meditation, that suffering and frustration are the inevitable and permanent part of human life, and when you need to use meditation to actually settle, to learn to swallow that frustration, to learn to cope with it. So this is something that I see a lot in philosophical pages, that I see in some philosophies, and they talk about this concept, how to embrace, in Stoicism as well, how to embrace suffering and learn to adapt to it. This is a dysfunctional generalization. We need to use discernment to determine whether we need to use meditation to cope right now, or we need to use meditation to actually do something with it. And in most cases, in my understanding, it is indeed meditation for action. Because sometimes even unfavorable situations that make you want to cope with it, through meditation, through some personal work, you will realize the ways out. Coping is almost never necessary. Oftentimes you have resources to functionalize what you already have in your life and move on. And that gives us the outlook of the second half of this video, in which we were talking about how to use people, because people usually form our environment. It's oftentimes not just like walls in our place, like walls that we're surrounded by, physical walls, level of income. Oftentimes it is people that surround us that form our environment. So people are our most powerful mirror. People are a very powerful resource that we can use. And it's not a cynical usage of people when you manipulate them, perhaps manage them to make you achieve your goals. That's something that can be done if your morals allow you to, and if you feel like it's appropriate, or if it will be for common good. But in this context, we're talking about using people give us clarity in what areas we need to work on ourselves. We need to see what manipulations work on us, what situations with people we usually end up in. And we find this persona that's invincible to that. And we start connecting with that persona, seeing the difference between me and that persona. Why is that persona going to be invincible to these manipulations? Why these people will not be present in this persona's life? What level is this persona at? What she understands about themselves? That this thing just doesn't happen in her life. So we use people for that. Then how else we use people? If we want to judge someone, let's judge ourselves for that. Let's see where we have the same bullcrap going on. Let's see where this where I'm judging this nagging person. I'm so tired of them. Where am I nagging? Why am I nagging? I want to stop that. So we get vaccinated through those people from our own things that are not functional. And that pushes me to go and pursue different modes of operation. We see how those interactions with people, when we fix something when we find the way out, we find the persona, we find the strength that will enable us to be invincible to toxic situations, that strength is likely going to propel me in all other areas of life. I was sucking in my business, or sucking at my job, or sucking at making my own decisions, and then I see that people manipulate me, people are taking advantage of me, people are always grabbing my energy, people are always telling me something that I don't like, people always make me think about them for 3 hours, 5 hours, 24 hours after our conversation. I don't value my time. Of course I will not succeed in my business. I don't own my own time. I don't own my own path. I don't own my own emotions. I don't own my own mental state. Everybody can come and soil there. Which business is responsibility for more than myself? It's responsibility for time. It's a very time expensive thing to do. My craft, my art, for example, my creativity is a very expensive asset. It's a very expensive thing to maintain. It's my beautiful garden that requires resources. I give my resources to all of those people. My doors are open for everything. I give it all. I don't own it. I don't have that. So, what we're working on? We're saying thank you to all those experiences for showing us that. And we start claiming it back. Through what? Either through actually locating it towards the goals that we want, towards self-care perhaps, instead of sitting on the couch looking at something that triggers us to no end, becoming an expert in geopolitics and being an expert in human psychology, we are turning it into self-care. And that actually paves the path to our next topic of the live stream that we're going to have tomorrow, is from sacrifice to devotion. How can we use everything? How can we use a bunch of crap, also social programming, how we can reframe it into a totally different paradigm? Taking manure, growing peaches. So we can talk about it tomorrow. From sacrifice to devotion. Good night, Chad. Is it okay that I'm calling that? I don't know, Himothes. So, that's our summary. And somehow, forward over to the tomorrow's idea for devotion. I want to make a short about it too. Actually, do you guys like short form videos? Do you watch them usually on YouTube or not? The short videos are cool too. Cool, nice. What time are you going on tomorrow? I'm going at 5 p.m. New York time. I do watch short form videos only if it's something I'm into. Sure. It's interesting because with live streams I hit many more people than with shorts. So, with shorts, however, I mean, there's very little engagement because there's no context. But at the same time, yeah, I do get discovered, oftentimes more. I like videos from 20-25 minutes. Do show up every day. I show up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Saturday, I'm planning to conduct a workshop. So if you want one of the Saturdays, one of the upcoming Saturdays, I'm going to organize the workshop. I like what I've heard you talking about tonight, and I just got here. Greg, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. See you in the next stream. Catch short video, attract people to the channel. Yeah, catchy. That's a thing that I need to embrace too, because catchy is with high energy and catchy with some provocative thing. That's how you get people to stay. That's something that I need to do more, because like some academic things like with all of that very elaborate, trying to squeeze this much of information into this much of video is a little bit outside of the scope of expectations for the genre, let's say. So that's why I started doing live streams and enjoy them so much. Now when I think about short form videos, that I need to sit like perfectly, such that I don't need to edit much, not cut out. You know, edits that are fun, that are like decorative, they're fun. But edits that are cutting out, what did I want to say? Or saying something super stupid, that's not fun. So, but okay, nice feedback, guys. I will be posting those. Also for Instagram, they're needed. I now have, by the way, a bunch of people on my Instagram. I had an interview with one doctor. We had quite a conversation, and so there are a lot of people on my Instagram now, new people. Also, I have art Instagram too, where I post my sewing and art, which is AF Wonderlander. AF Wonderland ER. So, if you want to follow me there, it would be cool. Any questions, concerns, comments? James, hello beautiful, thank you for your kind words. I think YouTube promotes short form lives more. It's tricky. I don't know. Algorithm is so unpredictable. I don't know. So, you just better off doing everything. So, going to sleep now. Take care, everyone. Bye bye, Shiki. Thank you for staying. This close to the end, I'm assuming. Yes, we're close to the end, and I'm just waiting for the last questions and comments, whatever. You're an artist and musician. Nice, Greg. Thank you for sharing. What genre of music? You're based and very intelligent. I've subscribed to you around. Thank you. Good. See you tomorrow, I guess, if you manage to join. Are you from Eastern Europe? I'm Russian. So put the notebook down. Yes, Kiva. Have a good rest right now. I don't think that we'll be discussing anything substantial on the matter today. Thank you, Kiva, so much. Мадам, огромное спасибо за прекрасный стрим. Я писала и слушала. Пока-пока. Show appreciation. Thank you so much, Kiva. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your feedback and for... Actually, it's so interesting because I love your feedback. I love your questions because you're so in the loop now that it's super cool. I love even like sometimes it's provocative. It provokes me to think in different directions. I really loved how you were contributing today. It was super nice. Many styles of music. Sure. Which instruments then? In the loop law. I never heard of that before. I learned that I remember when I heard this, I started like slowly using that phrase. You know, how you learn when you live in the new language environment. You start learning language from just hearing things. And sometimes you start using things without giving them second thought. So you start fearing, like, what if I say something weird, but it feels like it's applicable here? So I remember my first time, for some reason, specifically using that phrase. I was like, is it how it's used? Did I understand it properly? Guitar, bass mainly. Okay, nice. I will use that phrase now. Yeah. Keep me in the loop, I think, is to keep me posted. That's how it's used, I think. So, let's take another question. And I'm gonna go. By the way, someone, unrelated, someone asked me about the hair routine. I just got an amazing conditioner, which is a pineapple conditioner from Pacifica. Like, very beautiful bottle and smells like pineapple. So cool. So I will enjoy it. That's the result. Very like luminous hair. Question: what's your pronouns? My pronouns are she and her. What time tomorrow? 5 p.m. New York time. Which actually I'm discriminating people from Europe when I said it at this time. Should probably do a couple of days that are earlier than that. Because Europeans are going to sleep at that time already. I'm Russian. No question from me, madam, but I thought it was funny how you said while everyone's goofing around. Kiva, let's recap. Yes. Because for you it's a recap. For people, I don't know how many people stay from the beginning to end actually. So for you it's a recap. For some people it's, oh, new information. And also I didn't know where that whole exchange would go, really. You know? When people started saying stuff, some silly stuff, and going into dialogues with each other and silly stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your gummy. Do you live in Russia? No. I moved 10 years ago. Your dialect makes me think you're from Poland. I'm actually mostly Polish genetically. It's like an escape from the irrelevance and back on topic. Yeah. Because I feel also, it's like, it feels like I have a goal in mind because we started recapping. And then we got like swayed by other things. So I was bothered by the fact that I have a goal. And I felt like I wanted to embrace the goal other than entertaining everything else. It's like procrastination, It felt like procrastination almost in that moment. So I wanted to just go back. Beautiful hair. Thank you, beer and tacos. Beautiful eyes. Thank you so much. Yeah, very true. Are you on Long Island? No. Can you be my golden retriever? No, I'm a human. Great discussion today, nice. Thank you, Dwayne. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I noticed made more progress today than last time. It was quite loaded, actually, yeah. Different ways we can use humans, people. And so relevant for me, this topic. I'm really happy that I have, is this the end and I missed everything? Probably, but you never miss because the live streams are always recorded. And I usually speak a lot, so it doesn't feel like live stream where you like sit and wait. It's usually pretty going on topic, especially in the beginning while we're going directly through the subject. Then it's very just condensed. So with this topic, it's really important for me to talk about myself because there have been so much transformation, so many lessons. I don't like the word transformation, perhaps, it's overused, but so many lessons were shown to me. So much. So this topic was very important for me to talk about, because perhaps behind its simplicity, when you actually use everything that we talked about in real life, when you try using it, it leads to personal revolution. It's phenomenal. It's just so phenomenal, the impact of that. So my participation was minimal, but it worked. I got a lot of notes out of it as usual. How much do you weigh? I weigh probably around 52 kilos. What's tomorrow's topic? Tomorrow's topic, I'm thinking of devotion in place of sacrifice, because sacrifice is something that's glorified in our society. It's some like ill concept that propagates suffering through this weird mental credit system, and also non-consensual credit system. So I want to talk about how we can use similar mechanism that sacrifice entails, but reframe it as devotion, such that it turns from short-circuited system to expansive system. I enjoy how articulate you are. Thank you, Jacob. What do you normally talk about? It's my first time seeing you. I'm a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist, so we're talking about multitude of topics. Sometimes we're talking directly about things that are from the scope of Tantra teaching, which is methodology of fixing various life situations and achieving your most optimal biochemistry and mental functioning, such that you feel stable, comfortable, joy-forward, and pleasure-capable. Sometimes we talk about different life issues, something random, some relationship-related, for example, relationships with the system, relationships with your career, with your personal development, intellectual development. People throw in so many interesting things, and we just embrace that. But we stay on the course of Tantra and also my personal project, which is Human Renaissance, which is for creative people, which is for people to access their creative potential and actually start exercising it. Because people with a lot of creative juice, with a lot of creative capabilities and energy, oftentimes they have narcissistic trauma. Narcissistic trauma is something that hinders their progress and their ability to put this potential into work. And so this is one of the big parts of my work, to help people go from this personal conflict of needing validation, permission, into actually just doing things and enjoying them. So that's another facet of that. And also you can go on my website, rawformoflife.com, subscribe to my newsletter, because I will be posting some things on my website, some practices and stuff that you can download and start working on. Ma'am, I'm the law around here, and it's illegal to look that good, so please stop it. It's a warning. Thank you so much. I said no, I want last round before curfew. Okay, should probably write down just in case show up late for the next topic. It's okay, Kiva. You know it's real what. Wouldn't you sacrifice what you're devoted to, though? It's a different vector of thinking. I have a question. Out in space, yes, please. Very good explanation. Thank you, Kiva. Your hair is very nice. Thank you, Pale Curve. I will share the secret. It's a Pacifica curl enhancing conditioner with pineapple. My recent discovery. Smells divine, and the effect is actually pretty nice. It keeps curls balanced. You know, I usually wash my hair and they coil up. The next day they straighten up. I woke up and they were coiled up, so it was very cool. I don't know about narcissistic trauma, but my life has had much trauma. Understandable. Narcissistic trauma is when it can be a whole spectrum of things. It can be defined in multiple things. What I mean by what I do is usually when you have idea of your grandiose mission, your grandiose capabilities, but you feel like you're very small. You feel like you're very incapable. You feel like you don't have a permission. That someone must come and allow you to do this grandiose thing, or enable you to do this grandiose thing. That's what oftentimes happens. And that can lead to a whole array of dysfunctional dynamics in life. Out in space, question. I'm waiting. Then, hello, Marco. With pineapple. Yeah, it smells really well. So I just found you, but I like what your videos are about. I will subscribe and check them out. Thank you so much. Thank you. You'll enjoy them. Off topic, but Kuzi is the best co-host. He is. Да, мой сладкий. Мой хороший. Хочешь показаться? Хочешь на видео записываться? Пойдешь на ручки? Нет? He's kind of resting. Hello, you're cute. Thank you, William. He's feeling lazy. Think YouTube hates my commentary. It even deletes my messages. I don't know what's up with you, Cabello Poshoko. I know that's a problem, but I don't think that you are in any lists or anything. What are you commenting about? I mean, YouTube allows people with very obscene comments. I'm surprised. I literally get all spectrum of fetishists out here, and then you can't comment about something. Beautiful. Thank you, Marshall. I thought you were Marshmallow. Marshall Main. Let me unplug my microphone because we need charger. And then I need to leave before probably 8:50 or so. Up. I just subscribed to your channel. I hope I may comment on your videos. Yeah, of course. My thing is, yeah, all open. Marcel. So, questions. Where is out in space with question? Yeah, we might leave soon. Yeah, I need to go. I also need to cook dinner, and dinner for my dog as well. Prepare it. Go where? What? What do you mean go where? What time is it there? I'm in New York, Marcotech. It's time. I mean, assuming that your handle has New York, you probably know what time is it, but it's 8:30. I just learned about chopped spinach and rice. Sure. Okay, madam. How's the weather? The rain? And actually, it was thundering. It was phenomenal. Where is out in space with question? I'm demanding. Where is it? I hope it wasn't hidden anywhere. Nice shirt. Does it match your shoes? No. Enjoy tonight. See you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thank you, Greg. See you tomorrow. What part in New York? I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in upstate. Favorite movie? None of the favorite. I don't know. I like movie Interstate 60, and I also like Dangerous Beauty movie. What do you do for work? I'm a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist, content creator as well. And my side gig, very important one, not side, but very important one, it's my sewing project. I don't know why he hasn't responded yet. Yeah, me neither. I guess we'll keep the intrigue going. Oh, I think my comment was hidden. Let me see. Let me remove moderation then. Thank you so for letting us know. So, all messages out in space. Okay, the question was silly. I don't understand it. We waited for that. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sign off and I'm gonna go prepare dinner now. Never mind. Yeah, out loud in space. I was expecting something. You did some. You know, people do all this setup for silly things for me to read something funny, and it's like it's already kind of not doesn't tickle my fancy anymore. So I'm sorry for that. Let's do something with substance next time. Well, at least my question was somewhat relatable. It was. Love you, honey, Nicholas. So thank you, everyone. I regard nature, which is what we talked about with gardening. Exactly. What are you having for dinner? I'm just probably going because it's already late. We're running 30 minutes later than I was expecting. So that's probably going to be just I just fry up some ground beef a little bit and eat it with ketchup. Thank you, everyone. So, bye-bye. Enjoy your night, everyone.